Hey everybody. So we are gathering for voting in 2020. Isn't that exciting? Isn't that exciting? I need to turn off the monitor. That's something that we don't really want. Yeah, so we got a bunch of people coming in to vote. It's pretty exciting, huh? Yeah, so I guess this one on Yahoo Finance, they're showing just people actually in person going to vote, counting the votes. We see many people coming across from faraway places, coming in to stand in long lines. Hopefully the lines aren't too long. We would think that people would be trying to expedite this process, getting people into the place where they want to be so that they can make their vote count. Being an American, part of what being American is being able to come in and cast your vote. You know, we fought many years for many people to vote across the United States. Okay, so it's like this is the most American thing you can possibly do, is go out there to the polls, cast your ballot. So yeah, it looks like in Ohio they're just moving it right along. Let's see, we got NBC. Yeah, it's like... Oh.
County, padding that lead here. Some of our other counties, Manatee, Sarasota, Donald Trump, pretty dominant down there. Pasco, Hernando, and Citrus County, dominant there as well for the president. We're going to have this coverage continuing on 10tampabay.com as we continue to follow what happens here in Florida. Come join us on 10 Tampa Bay.
We're going to continue our coverage right now on our social media pages, on Facebook, on Twitter, on Roku, and so forth. But we're going to reset a little bit. We have so many changes that have come into our newsroom. Ryan Bass, of course, still with us. Myself, Carolina Lee, are talking with our producer right now, giving us some updates on what we're seeing here.
So, guys, thanks for being fluid with us, right? You're seeing a wide shot.
How the bread is made. How we put all this
Yeah,
together.
you're putting it in the oven here. So, thank you for joining us. Ryan Bass, Carolina Lead here with you. As things continue to move throughout the night, still waiting on some important states, especially Florida. The amendments, though, have been trickling in really over the last 15, 20 minutes, Carolina. I know we've been calling these. Let's go over some of these, again, these constitutional amendments down ballot. Again, when you were going down your ballot, that last couple of things you filled out, the bubble there and the second sheet of paper, it was these amendments.
And made sure that you turned the page and you didn't miss anything.
And you filled in the bubble. You filled in the bubble.
Yeah, okay.
All right, so here you go. Amendment 1, 90% passes. This changes the wording. Amendment 6 we're looking at here. Excuse me.
We're kind of working backwards, but that's the newest, right? Okay.
Yep. This is for the spouses of certain deceased veterans. 61%. Looking at what we say, Amendment 2 here. This is Florida's minimum wage. We can now report, according to the Associated Press, that has passed with 61% of the vote. Amendment 2 is in, has passed with 6.3 million votes. Still waiting on Amendment 3.
Still waiting on it.
This is one that has been close all night. That has been really, really interesting. This would, of course, open up our primary to regardless of your party affiliation. I want to bring in Eric Glasser now, who's been doing some excellent reporting on these amendments that you guys have been voting on here. Eric, so far we're still waiting on Amendment 3, very close, and that could fundamentally change how we vote and who we vote for in the state of Florida.
Yeah, exactly. Amendment 3 is one of those that would open up the primaries to all voters, Ryan, and so you would have in the primary elections there, instead of just Democrats and Republicans having their opportunity to have their say, those 30% of those no party affiliation voters would also be able to chime in during the primaries. The idea there is that it would probably draw more moderate to the center type candidates. The bad part of that, as we've talked about, is that people have said that it would probably work against minority candidates and the number of them making it onto the ballot. So let's talk about, if you want to, some of these that have made it. It appears that they have passed. Look at Amendment 1. Right, here was something that when we talked to our experts about it, they said this was enough to be perfect. That this would basically change the language in the Constitution of Florida when it comes to the eligibility for people to vote in Florida from every U.S. citizen to only a U.S. citizen and resident of Florida. And they said that effectively would do nothing, but obviously it was something that resonated with people here in the state of Florida and overwhelmingly has passed. Amendment 2, if we can move on to that one, is the minimum wage in Florida, and we have made the call on that one.
Yeah, so it's going to be another week of this, you guys. It's going to be another week of this.
Threshold.
It's going to be another week of this.
The people of Florida have voted to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour incrementally over the next few years. So how that will work is that next year, under this amendment, the minimum wage in Florida would go up to $10 an hour. And then every subsequent year, for the next 5 years after that, it would increase another dollar until in the year 2026, it reaches $15 an hour. A lot of people thought that might not make it this year, even though it is a popular idea and amendment just because of COVID-19, the effects of that on the economy, and how difficult it might be on several smaller businesses specifically out there to insist that they pay a particular wage. But obviously, as you see, again, just by the skin of its teeth, just over that 60% threshold, you've got Amendment 2 passing. Let's get past Amendment 3. We already talked about that. Amendment 4 as well is still out there. Amendments 5 and 6. These were not citizen initiatives. These were legislative initiatives. But they were very, very popular. They had to do with tax exemptions on property, and both of those appear to be coasting to victory as well. Back to you.
For all of you who are following these important amendments here, again, we're trying to work out some kinks here with this. 92 is the Electoral College votes right now for President Donald Trump. We're waiting to figure out the state of Nebraska, whether it's the congressional districts that have been called or the entire state of Nebraska going for the president. Right now, I zeroed this out. So 92 for President Trump, 122 for Joe Biden. The update now is Joe Biden has taken the District of Columbia's 3 Electoral College votes. This is where we stand right now. Still too close to call in the state of Florida. Razor-thin margins. North Carolina, Georgia, Texas, Arizona, the important swing states. Of course, looking at the Rust Belt here, which elected Donald Trump 4 years ago. What happens in Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Minnesota? Still waiting to see that. Let's look at the state of Florida. Carolina, if you want to come around here to join me here for a second. We're kind of having some issues here with this map here. Give me 1 second, guys. Let me flip over if we can. Let me flip over if we can to the state of Florida here. We're having this tablet that's frozen. All right, so back to the map here. We're good, guys? We're good. Back to the map here as we needed to reconnect on this tablet. So back to the map here in Florida. You're taking a look, and right now with 95% of the precincts reporting 379,000 vote lead for the president here in Florida. This thing's getting close in the favor of Donald Trump. Joe Biden, it's going to be hard for him to make up some of the margins down here. Can you do me a favor? Can you go check Miami-Dade County for me and see what we got, Carolina?
Right there.
All right, Miami-Dade County, we got 94% of the precincts still waiting. Hit that percentage up there for me. Let me see how many precincts we're waiting on. So 818 of 866 we're still waiting on for the precincts there. 94%.
I guess now we're voting for a cow,
For me,
huh?
Carolina. I'll put you in the driver's seat here.
Yeah, why not?
100%.
I'll move you up north.
I trust you as a better driver than me anyway. 100% of the precincts reporting Joe Biden. If you can go back to 2016 for me
2016, yeah, let's go.
and take a look. 281, 292. The margins down here in South Florida is what could potentially put Donald Trump over the top. Let's go back to 2016 for me. Back to our totals if you can here, Carolina. Again, Florida. This is 2016. Let's go back to 2020.
We'll go back to 2020.
Yeah, back to 2020. 95% of the precincts reporting 48 to 51. Here, the President Donald Trump right now leading in our critical swing state of
Brandon, just
Florida.
about a minute, but let's wrap this up. We'll keep going on this.
Yeah, this is certainly what we're looking at here from a state perspective. All right, let's see. Oh, I got the driver's seat back. Look at that. All right.
Okay.
So we got the tablet working now. Take a look at the red. Here's the red. Donald
I
Trump.
guess I should probably like and subscribe. Huh?
We're looking like a red state once again for the second consecutive year if this holds this lead for Donald Trump. You take a look at Joe Biden, some critical areas where Joe Biden was able to win. At least it looks like in these unofficial results. Duval County, Pinellas County, Seminole County, we talked about earlier being a long-time Republican mainstay. That looks like it's flipped with 99% precincts reporting. Duval County looks like it is flipped to a blue county for the first time since 1948. 1972 was the last time they voted for a Democrat, and that was Jimmy Carter. So, longtime red county looks like that has flipped in favor of Joe Biden here. Again, we're waiting for some of these results to be officially finalized here in the state of Florida. But man, is it interesting to see the races here, Carolina? Our state, critical. Playing it out on an electoral college perspective, Donald Trump needs us. He needs our 29 electoral college votes to continue his path to re-election. Joe Biden can get by without us. Counting on these states up here and the polling to be correct. We heard Scott Light talk about it earlier. The polling he believes was off in the state of Florida, still not accounting for that percentage change for Republicans. Interesting here, though, Carolina. Again, before I toss it over, you're looking at the state of Florida. Looks like this could be Donald Trump's story.
95% reporting. Okay, I want to get over to Natalie Brand with CBS News, our correspondent there. Natalie, you heard us, I'm sure, in your ear as we were talking there about the state of Florida and how critical that is, the 29 electoral votes that may go to President Trump based on what we're seeing. What about from a national level? What are some of the surprises, some of the things that you're seeing there?
Well, I think right now, if you look at the states that CBS News was characterizing as toss-ups ahead of election tonight, they are still toss-ups on the map tonight. That has been the common trend at this hour. Of course, it is still early in the night, and of course, the vote counting process is so different this year because of the coronavirus pandemic. But this is a tight race, and we are hearing from Trump campaign officials who tell CBS News that they are cautiously optimistic. They're especially optimistic about Florida, as you've been talking about, a critical state. It's always a critical state during election time. And I'm sure you've also been talking about the margins in some of the key areas, including Miami-Dade, where right now our elections unit is showing that Biden is running behind Clinton in 2016, according to the comparison of the numbers there. So they are feeling confident about the surge in turnout, the Trump campaign feeling confident about the surge in turnout from their supporters that they saw turn out to the polls in person in some of these key battleground states today.
Wait till they count the
Florida,
mail-in ballots.
including Texas, but also important to note, that's been characterized as a toss-up at this hour. So, of course, we're being very cautious in analyzing the numbers with so many ballots still to be counted, but this is a tight race. I also want to mention that we've learned recently that President Trump is expected to speak tonight from the White House, even if it's not to declare victory, but we're hearing that he wants to project strength and talk about their showing tonight.
All right, Natalie, thank you so much for that perspective. I really appreciate it. Ryan, we're going to go back to you so we can go through the numbers that we're seeing here from the national map.
Yeah, let's pop up the spam, guys, if we can. And just to be fully transparent with all of us watching here on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, his tablet's acting up a little bit. I feel like it's getting caught up in the races here. It's acting a little fuzzy. So bear with me if we have a little trouble driving the electoral map here. So this is what we're looking at as it stands right now. 92 electoral college votes for President Donald Trump. 122 for Vice President and challenger Joe Biden. As it stands right now, Florida, we're still waiting on. We're still waiting on North Carolina. We're still waiting on Georgia. Some historical perspective here as you guys get an update. If Lauren wants to update the map, I see her kind of giving me an indication over here that we could update the map, and it looks like we will. Joe Biden, according to the Associated Press, has won Colorado. Expected to go in his corner in Colorado. He has won down there in Denver, Colorado, and in Colorado in general. 131 is now the Electoral College count for Joe Biden. As it stands right now, some historical perspective. No Republican has won the White House without Florida in 96 years. Donald Trump needs to win that. No Republican has ever won the White House without Arizona. Donald Trump wants to win that back. Biden was leading in polls. We'll see how those numbers come out. No Republican has ever won the White House without Ohio. Donald Trump polling well there. Essentially a toss-up according to CBS's Battleground Tracker, but that is a state that has long time been Republican. So we'll see what happens with those three states. Pennsylvania, obviously, we're still waiting on those ballots.
Pennsylvania,
which could be called some of those in
5,000.
9 counties in Pennsylvania tomorrow from the mail-in ballots. Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota. But Georgia, man, is Georgia going to be interesting here, Carolina. That's a state, 1992, last time it went blue. Every indication is, and you saw from the Biden campaign, Kamala Harris, you saw President Barack Obama in Atlanta just a few days ago. They want to flip Georgia. If they do that, that could be a potential path for Joe Biden to upset and get past Donald Trump in the Electoral College here. So Georgia's one to watch, especially if Florida goes red. Georgia becomes the next one along with North Carolina and Arizona to watch.
Hey, Ryan, while you're there, I'm not sure
Yeah.
if your tablet is working. What if you added Florida to Donald Trump? What number would we be at, just to give people a perspective?
All right, so
on the
let's-
change we would see based on the map right now, just to give you a clue.
All right.
If it's working for you.
So
I can
this
look over.
this seems to be the map as it stands. Hang on,
Right.
let me fix Nebraska in the
Oh, thank
state
you.
here. So it looks
Yeah.
like 92 to 131. Let's make sure I got that right. 92 to 131 is what we're standing. So right now, at this point, what we need, Joe Biden needs 139 Electoral College votes to get elected. President Trump needs 178. We talked about it going in. The path for Joe Biden was easier to 270 than it was for Donald Trump. Let's say Florida goes red. There you go, 121, and Donald Trump starts to close the gap by 10 Electoral College votes. Let's assume he goes and wins Ohio, 2 critical states that's needed, 139 to 131. It comes down to a few states here. Joe Biden is hoping to flip Arizona. If he does that, it's 11 Electoral College votes. May not be the same kind of weight that a Pennsylvania, North Carolina, or Michigan has, but that could seriously impact the race here. President Trump doesn't have a lot of margins for error in this race. So you're looking at Arizona is a state they're hoping to flip. Let's go back to the map as it stands right now. I know Joe Biden and his camp, Carolina, were hoping to take Florida and make this an early night as far as this race is concerned, but there's still a lot of states up for grabs in
And
the Electoral
Ryan, why
College.
don't we get some perspective on the Biden campaign right now? We'll go back to CBS News' Michael George, who is with the Biden campaign, to give us an idea of what the mood is like there, what it is that he's hearing from them, if anything.
Well, cautious optimism is a phrase that we keep hearing from the Biden camp. We know that former Vice President Joe Biden is watching the results at home with his family. Not a lot of campaign staff. He's mostly just with family watching these results, and we do expect to hear from him far, far later tonight as more of these results come in. Now, the Biden camp is saying they are encouraged by turnout results in some key states like Arizona and Georgia, but of course, as we've been hearing, a lot of those key battleground states, we just don't know the outcome yet. And so cautious optimism is the best that the Biden camp will say at this point. They are confident about what they've seen with the poll numbers, but of course they remember what happened in 2016. So it's just a watch and wait mentality right now. We're here at the stage where Joe Biden and Kamala Harris will eventually speak later on tonight. We're told by the campaign that remarks are expected much later, but Joe Biden himself said that he may not speak if there's nothing to report tonight. So again, we're just going to have to see how these states shake out. We know that Joe Biden is closely watching as well.
All right, Michael George, really appreciate that. As we wait to see, it makes sense.
It's just
not
weird.
Really
The-
talking until
the
we
noise
have something,
suppression-
especially considering
The
Pennsylvania.
noise suppression seems to
we
be
may
so
not know for
good.
quite some time.
It doesn't
We may
want
not
to
know
play my
until
flute. So
tomorrow
it's like
and
if
the
I want to
waning
play
days the
flute,
rest of
I
the
have to
week,
take off
what
the noise
happens
suppression.
with the Keystone State.
Maybe if
which
I
we
switch
saw
it to-
both camps really want very badly.
What if
so
I switch it
Hillsborough
to
County
this
and their
one?
sheriff's race. Chad Chronister had a lot of backing here. Nikki DiBartolo, obviously married there to the DiBartolo family. Very popular sheriff
Yeah,
there
it's
in
like I have to
Hillsborough
take it
County.
off.
Bo Zimmer joins us now. He's been covering this race for us across the bay. Bo, certainly Chad Chronister, I know he spoke a little bit ago, has to be happy that he's keeping his seat and improving off what he considers to be a very good record there in Hillsborough.
Absolutely, Ryan. And I tell you what,
right. It's like a party down here. I mean, the music is thumping. It's like Club Chronister down here. If you're looking for a place to hang out after work, this might be it. I saw Tampa Police Chief Jane Castor down here a little earlier. She might have been checking to see if they were violating any noise ordinances, but seriously, everyone here tonight congratulating the sheriff on his re-election. Officially has been re-elected to another 4 years in office, defeating challengers Gary Pruitt and Ron McMullen, both longtime law enforcement lifers who retired from the Tampa Police Department after distinguished careers. The sheriff was first appointed, as you may remember, by the governor back in 2017 after the surprise retirement of David Gee. He was then elected to finish out Gee's term, but this is actually going to be his first full 4-year term in office. So he's very excited about that and told me he is excited about the future.
Bo Zimmer, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for that.
We appreciate it here. All right, guys, so where are we going now? Just want to make sure as we are waiting for races that are too close to call at this point. Still waiting on Florida as we're getting some of these last couple of precincts in our state. Again, a pretty healthy lead for the president here as he hopes to win Florida, a state that he needs in his path to re-election. We're waiting on Georgia and North Carolina, a couple of swing states that are very interesting in this race for president.
And North Carolina is interesting with respect to the triangle there, right? The Raleigh, Durham, Charlotte. When you look at the voters there and to see how it is that they're going to vote, some of those highly educated white voters to see. But then the rural areas, you see those areas that we saw in the last election where the voter turnout was key. I mean, people, yeah, they may be rural, it might be more widespread, but people turned out, and they turned out for President Donald Trump. We're still waiting on North Carolina. We don't have any indication just yet as to how that state will go. And as you mentioned, Georgia also key. You look at Atlanta, you look at the suburbs of Atlanta, how it has sprawled out, how it has grown. A lot like Arizona and Phoenix.
Yeah,
that area,
a lot with the Maricopa County over there.
Yeah, so then you look at the African American vote when you look outside of Atlanta. Yeah, of course within Atlanta, but outside of Atlanta to see, as it looks like that's what the Biden campaign was hoping for. But again, Georgia, be interesting to see if that stays red or if it is in fact turning.
Carolina, let's you and I go over to the electoral map on touch, guys, if you can pull it up. All right, I'm going to stay here in Hubbell as we were talking about some of these states. As we had, again, talking about Georgia and North Carolina. We've got Brendan Beery here joining us. Brendan, one of our legal experts here that's joining us.
Constantly helping us with this.
Constantly helping us and has been helping us. Brendan, thanks for standing by with us. We appreciate your expertise. I want to start here. Let's have the legal conversation for a second because there's been a lot of conversations around what could happen post-election. Obviously, we have to see what happens, Brendan, with these results here on election night. But what could we be seeing and gearing up for in the days to come after we find out what happens with some key states tonight?
Yeah, you know, I would have thought coming into tonight that if the result tonight was decisive, it would have been very unlikely really to see any meaningful litigation because it would have been kind of a moot point. But what we're seeing so far is an election that looks quite close. You know, it looks like we sort of start out with mirages, right? Whether it's blue or red, where it looks like one side is winning, but as votes come in, things start to tighten up. That being the case, you could see certainly challenges in states like Pennsylvania, where Republicans have signaled that they will challenge votes that come in after Election Day, even though the Pennsylvania Supreme Court has ruled that up to 3 days after Election Day, so after today, that those votes can be counted. To be frank, those types of lawsuits are not likely to succeed. Republicans sort of got burned in Texas by a federal judge who, by the way, was appointed by George W. Bush, so not a liberal. But they sought to disqualify 127,000 votes that had been cast at
Harris County
drop-off.
Yep,
right.
Harris County.
And the judge was having none of it. So here are two problems with these lawsuits. Number one is that to sue in a case like this, you have to have what courts call standing, which means that some kind of injury has happened to you. You can't just go into court and say, well, I'm an interested party or somebody hurt my feelings, but it has to be a concrete and palpable injury. And courts are having a very hard time finding where you can argue that counting somebody else's vote injures you. The second problem is that most of these cases involve challenges under the Equal Protection Clause.
Wow.
And under the Equal Protection Clause, the fundamental principle is one person, one vote. Every vote counts. So it's kind of counterintuitive to argue that a state is violating equal protection principles by counting votes, right? The argument is typically you violate equal protection principles by not counting votes. That's the kind of litigation you're going to see. The claim is going to be that it's an equal protection violation because it dilutes. They're counting certain votes, which Republicans will say would be in violation of state law. That counting those votes dilutes the value of other votes that were cast properly.
Brendan, I do want to ask you this too. And first of all, unbelievable perspective on what we could see as far as post-election litigation. But there was a claim from the president that all votes needed to be counted on November 3rd, here on election night. Historically, can you give me some perspective? Because it hasn't been how our elections have been run in our history, and it seems like there's no legal standing for those votes that need to be counted. I know you got into a little bit of that, but just to clarify that perspective from the claim of votes need to be counted, and those are the only official votes here on November 3rd.
Yeah, that is frankly absolutely wrong. States do not certify elections on election night. What happens on election night is that cable news networks, right, and regular news networks and other news outlets call races, right, when they think that it's safe to call. But that does not mean that all the votes are counted or that the elections are certified on election night. As a matter of fact, that very rarely happens. I mean, there have been so many, just in our lifetimes, or in mine anyway. In the year 2000, we didn't know the winner, right, when I went to bed. In the year 2004, we didn't know. In the year obviously the last election,
Yep.
right, 2016. So vote counting goes on for a long time, and it's going to be going on, and in particular because there are some states like Michigan and Pennsylvania that didn't allow the counting of votes until this morning or thereabouts.
And those are really the two key Rust Belt states, Brendan, that we will be watching for. I really can't thank you enough for your expertise, your legal insight. Please be on standby for the rest of the week, because we might need you if things do go a little haywire up there in the Rust Belt. Brendan, thank you so much. We'll check back in with you hopefully a little bit later on tonight. I do want to get over to Carolina, because the balance of power in the Senate is a conversation that we've been having going into tonight, and it looks like the Republicans have lost a seat.
They have, right? So it was 53 to 47, and now we have Democrat John Hickenlooper, who was the former governor of that state, beating Senator Cory Gardner, the Republican there. So that's why you see here we have seen that the Democrats have gained a seat here in the U.S.
That's
Senate.
the Colorado seat.
The Colorado, yeah, sorry if I said that, but yeah, the Colorado seat there. This was the most vulnerable one of all the seats that were up for grabs, or that could at least change, right? So this has been an upset, but this was, I wouldn't say expected, but it was not unexpected here in the state of Colorado, as we see. But again, you still have Republicans with 52, Democrats with 46, but keep in mind from that 46, you have two that vote from independent in the caucuses of the Democratic Party there, and so we still also have, as I mentioned, the two undecided seats. So yeah, right now the Republicans have lost one seat in the U.S. Senate, which is, we're going to have to see. There are a couple of other races that we're looking at. We're looking at Maine. We're looking at Arizona, right?
Arizona's going to be key. North Carolina seems to be a heated race at this point right now.
Yeah, that's another one. So we're keeping an eye on that. Yeah, as for Arizona, right, that's also astronaut Mark Kelly, who's up against Martha McSally there. So there are a few more races, of course, we're keeping an eye on. But right now, we can tell you that Colorado has been able to flip a seat here, giving one to the Democrats and the Republicans losing one. But still, the balance of power still on the Republican side.
Truly going to be interesting to see what happens in the balance of power there, especially if there is a Joe Biden win here in this election, if they're able to sway the power and have control of both the Senate and the House. I'll walk over with you, Caroline. Do me a favor.
Yeah.
Flip to that state. Let's flip to the state and take a look. Have you hit?
Oh, wait, no.
Hit.
But
Electoral works too.
Technical
We can look at both of them.
difficulties.
So here's your electoral map looking at 2020, right? Here's where we stand at this point. Colorado, again, you just talked about the Senate race there. That's been called. Virginia's been called. Still waiting on North Carolina, Georgia, Florida. Before we hit our cut in here, for those of us watching on digital, let's go to the state of Florida and let's take a look. With 97% of our precincts reporting,
There you go.
it almost looked like it's going to be a long haul here with 3% of those precincts for Joe Biden to try and make a comeback. I don't know where he makes it up at this point. It seems like a lot of these votes are counted. Dave, that 6% could potentially try and tighten the race here, but we talked about it. Those margins are what's going to be key. Go over to Sumter County for me if you can, Carolina, right up here on this. This is Sumter right there. Citrus Sumter, 68% to 32%. He increased that lead from 4 years ago. So interesting. Pinellas, this race got even tighter.
It was 13.
Even tighter. This race, by the way, back in 2000, was decided by a couple of hundred votes. So interesting here. We're going to cut into programming here, Carolina, right?
Yeah, we're going to go back to our TV audience. We'll see you then.
You having fun yet? Breathe easy, Tampa Bay. Thanks for joining us here on 10 Tampa Bay. Ryan Bass here with you with this America Decides update as we take over for Norah O'Donnell and the team up there in New York. Give you a little update of what's going on down here on the ground in our Tampa Bay area. We've got a lot of local elections that we're looking at. Of course, the state of Florida getting closer to potentially being called here for either Donald Trump or Joe Biden, and our sheriff's races as well. We've got a lot to update people on.
Hi there, I'm Carolina Lee. So we want to get to some of our amendments, 6 amendments that you were voting on in this election. I want to get you caught up on where they stand right now and some of the key ones that we had on the ballot. One of those is Amendment 2, which would raise the minimum wage. The AP says, yes, this one has passed. The amendment has incremental increases in the minimum wage starting next September and then increasing annually until the state reaches a $15 minimum wage by 2026 in that one. So next up, this is another one that the AP has said has in fact passed. Amendment 5 will change the homestead exemption from 2 to 3 years. Right now, if you move, you have 2 years to go ahead and transfer so that you can get that benefit to save on your home in order to reduce your taxes, your property taxes. So that has been transferred from 2 to 3 years. You can see there, voters, 74% saying yes to that homestead exemption. That is amendment number 5 when it comes to tax collection. Amendment number 4 has not passed. It aims to change voter approval of constitutional amendments. It would require all proposed amendments to the state constitution to have 2 general election votes instead of just 1, right? So have to pass with that 60% supermajority twice in order to do that. Right now, we're seeing that as a no. It's too close in. So this one that we're also watching, Amendment 3, we're still watching this. This would allow voters to vote in primary elections. We're talking about the governor, the state cabinet, the legislature. This would create a single primary for just every voter, regardless of their party affiliation. They would be able to vote in those elections. The 2 candidates with the most votes would move on to the general election. As we've mentioned before, you could have 2 Republicans, 2 Democrats in a race based on that.
All right, some other local races here. Those were the amendments, but we want to get you caught up on some of the key ones. Hillsborough County School Board District 1, Nadia Combs, Steve Kona. Nadia Combs can take that race right there. We can accurately predict with 100% of the precincts in that Nadia Combs has won there in District 1. District 3, Mitch Thrower, Jessica Vaughn. Jessica Vaughn, with 61% of the vote there, has that District 3 seat in Hillsborough County for the school board. District 5, the incumbent, Tammy Schamberger. Henry Shake Washington ekes that one out, 10 percentage points by 10,000 votes. There you got Washington. In District 7, the incumbent, Lynn Gray, Sally Harris. Gray has taken that one there in District 7. 10 Tampa Bay, we are watching on both sides of the bay. Chad Chronister wins your Hillsborough sheriff. On the other side in Pinellas, Bob Galtieri has won re-election there as well. Let's go back to digital as we send it back to Norah O'Donnell and the team in New York.
Okay, we have just wrapped up that TV update that we have. I'm going to grab a glass of water.
I'd take a sip, right?
Just a sip, yeah.
All right, welcome back here on 10 Tampa Bay.
Gotta hydrate.
As we get you set, broadcasting here on our YouTube, Twitter channels, Facebook, our Roku app. We appreciate you being patient with us. We appreciate you being patient overall. We have seen a record turnout in this country. We're still waiting on the official tally of results. But coming into today, let's just reset for a second. We had 100 million people cast a ballot coming into Election Day. Just a round of applause to everybody for what we've seen.
And
incredible.
Some stood in line for a very long time in order to vote as well. But for the most part, we at least here throughout our area have not seen any issues at all with people being able to vote in a timely fashion.
I want to get to our vote squad's Courtney Robinson. And Courtney, you and I had talked about this going into tonight, the amount of available voters in the state of Florida, that red mirage, blue mirage we could see here on election night. It's been pretty interesting when you look at the vote tally of where we stand at this point.
It really is when we're looking through all of this and talking about how many voters we've seen turn out. I was just looking at that. I mean, we hit 11 million.
Incredible.
11 million, and we don't have
14 million registered voters in the state.
14.4, a little more than 14.4 million registered voters in the state of Florida. And when you look at just the sheer numbers, I mean, Ryan, we were talking about this. I was quizzing you before we got started. I said, Ryan, what's the highest turnout that we've ever seen in the presidential?
1992 was 83%.
Exactly, and at this point, not quite to 83%, but we are doing really
I mean, look at the difference here, though, Courtney, in the state of Florida. 5.6 million votes so far for Donald Trump. Still 3% of those precincts need to be reported. 5.2 million for Joe Biden. This would be a bigger win for Trump than it was 4 years ago. Still waiting for the margins and the unofficial numbers to come in here with 100% of the precincts reporting. But some incredible turnout here in the state of Florida.
And I want to take you out to our Emerald Morrow, who is with the Trump-Pence campaign happening here in Tampa Bay. Hey, Emerald, how are you?
That's the best you can say for all of us, but I want to give you a look at what's happening here at this watch party. Things are supposed to be starting to wrap up at about 10 o'clock, which is where we are right now, but as you can see, people are still here. They're anxiously awaiting the results. This has been a nail-biter of a night. I was actually talking to a man who had a big fat cigar in his pocket, and he was hoping to be able to light it up in celebration tonight, but he's like, no, I don't think that's going to happen. We just may have to wait until the morning. Part of the reason for that, we're still waiting for about 2,000 ballots to be processed after one of the scanners in Pinellas stopped working, according to the local supervisor of elections. Those ballots had to be driven to another location, and I asked the Pinellas County Republican chair if he was concerned about that. He said he's not really worried at all, and he really praised the supervisor of election here in Pinellas County, Julie Marcus, for her professionalism and for her work. Now, Nick Biseglia, who's been leading in District 66 for state rep, he said something that I thought crossed all party lines. He said that stay positive, we've got a long night ahead of us. So that's something both sides can certainly agree on, but you know, as long as this night goes on, we here on 10 Tampa Bay, we're going to be continuing to give you the most accurate updates all night long. Back to you.
Absolutely, and of course, we are getting all of our data from the Associated Press, and as they call races, and our team here in the 10 Tampa Bay newsroom, as they also are looking at the numbers, crunching those, we are bringing you those results as accurate as we can. I want to take you now to Josh Sidorowicz. He is on the other side with Vice President Biden's campaign. Hi, Josh.
Yeah, hey, Courtney, how are you? So just listening to Emerald there talking about those 2,000 ballots that had to be calculated here in Pinellas County. Looking at the Pinellas County Supervisor of Elections updated tabulations, it looks like those have been added in. It's what the Pinellas County Democrats here in St. Pete Beach have also been watching very closely. Biden still maintains his lead here in Pinellas County.
Look at that person
but it's
dancing in
Trump
the
now.
background.
He was leading by about 1,300 votes initially. It looks like that's down to 1,070 if my math is correct. That's a 0.19% margin in Pinellas County. Now, as we understand, with 100% reporting. So Pinellas County Democrats here right now watching, waiting, and wondering if, in fact, as goes Pinellas, so goes Florida, will still ring true here when all is said and done here by the end of the night here tonight. I was talking with the chair of the Pinellas County Democrats, Barbara Scott, here a little bit ago when we first saw that those updated tabulations had come in, and she said to me, she looked at me, she goes, a win is a win. And so they are going to look at that. They are actually very happy with how Biden has performed here in Pinellas County. Obviously, this is the county that not only everyone in Florida is watching, but people across the country are watching. It is considered a bellwether here for not only the state, but giving a good indication potentially of which direction the country will go as it has in so many elections in the past here. So the mood here for now, people are celebratory, but they're watching. Obviously, there's still a lot more that has to come through here before the night is up. We'll see how things shake out, guys.
Yeah, we certainly will. Josh Fedorowicz, thank you so much. Pinellas County, something that, like he said, the country is watching that county.
The swing
to watch
county
Florida.
and the swing state.
Absolutely. So we want to get a little more perspective about that now. We're going to go to Kelly Smith, a political analyst, for you tonight. So Kelly, can you talk a little bit about that, about Pinellas County, that the country's watching this county to watch the state of Florida?
Yeah, so Pinellas is one of those really important counties that went for Obama and then flipped to Trump, and that's why it's been looked at so closely. As well as in Florida, you know, we know our elections are quite close, and that flip from Obama to Trump was about a little over 1 percentage point as well. So it just reiterates kind of how close this race is, and particularly whether Biden is going to be able to flip those counties that went to Trump in 2016.
As we're looking at this right now, you're seeing on your screen, it says U.S. President Pinellas County, Joe Biden at 50%, Donald Trump at 49%. When you hear something like that and you look about how close it is right now in Pinellas County, Kelly, what does that say to you?
It says to me that I think this election is going to be maybe a lot closer than some people anticipated. We know, you know, as Floridians, we expect our races and our elections in this state to be close. I'm not sure if the rest of the country was expecting that as well. But I think this goes to show that we're going to be maybe waiting for a bit tonight to get these results in and to be confident in calling the race in Florida and maybe some other states as well.
Yeah, I think that's kind of like a patience thing, right? That as we look at that and we see how close it is and how quickly we saw some of these results maybe come in, but that patience still needs to sit there, that we need to continue, Kelly, to watch these states. But then we still have so many states that we're still watching for those results to come in as well.
Yeah, and this is why turnout is so important in elections overall, because it really does, especially a place like Pinellas County where the race is so close. Whether you turn out to vote or not can make a big difference and swing an election.
Absolutely. Kelly Smith, our political analyst, with us tonight. Thank you so much for joining us and for your analysis of this election. Courtney, you know, she's talking about turnout and how important that was, and we really saw people turn out in this election.
We absolutely did, and turnout is key, because when you have millions and millions and millions of voters, I mean, at this point in Florida, 14.4 million registered voters eligible to vote in this election. You have more than 11 million at this point who we are able to see cast their ballot, 98% of precincts reporting. That makes what would be a close election, you know, a little wider. And I mean, look, I want you to take a look right now at Florida, and you can see the difference between these two candidates, 382,000 votes. That may not seem like a lot, but that is much bigger than it was in 2016, much bigger than it was in 2000 when it was only 537 votes. I do want to take you to look nationally. Let's go ahead and look at the electoral map that we have here. You know, Trump with 98 electoral college votes, Vice President Biden with 131. Of course, this is still way too close to call right here. President Trump needing 172, Vice President Biden needing 139. We are watching some very key states, and it's possible that we'll start to see you know, calls coming in on this, where you have Florida, again, very, very close, but we are starting to get close to that 100% of precincts reporting. And at that point, the only ballots that are really out there are the vote-by-mail ballots that were turned in person today to supervisors of elections offices before 7 p.m. You also have the vote-by-mail ballots that need to be cured, the provisional ballots that have been referred to the canvassing board. They have to be reviewed and accepted. And in that case, when we talked with some of our political analysts earlier today, you know, would those make a difference, especially considering something like the 2000 election? They say in an election like this, with turnout as high as it was, it is unlikely that those ballots would make a difference in a presidential election. But look, the counting is certainly not over in any of this. And taking it back again, one last look here at Florida as well.
You know, Courtney and I, we were talking about Florida before, and we were talking about 2000, and how you're looking at this and you're saying that there's still so much to go, so much time still left.
Right.
In this, and we were talking about it gets so late into the night, and then you look into going into the overnight hours, and then into tomorrow, and we still have, you know, it's too close. You can't call an election like this.
But you know, I will take you back to 2016 if I pop it up right here. This was 1 percentage point that separated President Trump and Hillary Clinton. And when you look at that, I mean, 112,000 votes, 1 percentage point, and they were able to successfully call that. We're looking at 2020. You know, we certainly are waiting on the Associated Press to go through and do all of this, because again, all of this right now, these are unofficial results. And to take you through that, I mean, there are clear timelines that are in place, as we talked about. 2000, right? Okay. 2000, that is where we started to put procedures in place to make sure that we, you know, as of tonight, can lead the way and show a good, solid election.
And the procedures are so important when you're looking at elections that are this close, and this, you have to be detailed, you have to count every single vote, which then goes back to what we were talking about in that you don't want there to be any mistakes or any issues with the voting. And so far, as we've watched this, Courtney, we have not seen a lot of issues as we've gone throughout the night tonight.
No, we haven't. And you know, we were checking with stations all across the state, and everyone said smooth. I was checking with voting rights advocacy groups. You know, they are out, they are talking with voters, they're getting calls from voters. They again said smooth. There were things that were to be expected. Some of those things did happen, but it wasn't an issue. Now, let's be cautious on that, right? I did hear from, I mean, it wasn't just one supervisor, many supervisors who have said, look, 2000, they went to bed, it was a great race, everything good, woke up the next day, obviously Florida center stage in that battle. So of course, at this point though, we just don't have those issues, the voter intimidation and the cybersecurity as well. You know, we are getting some local races called as well. Allison, let me hand it over to you so you can walk us through those as well.
Yeah, of course we know that the presidential election, a lot of you are interested in, but there are a lot of local races that we want to update you about because these are really important to our communities and to our families. So we want to let you know about Commission District 1 in Pinellas County. Janet Long with 51% of the vote to Larry Ahern at 49% of the vote. Long is leading by 5,936 votes. Commission District 3 in Pinellas County, Charlie Justice with 50% of the vote to Tammy Sue Vasquez with 50% of the vote. Justice is only leading by 3,442 votes with 100% of the precincts reporting at this point on election night.
Allison, in that case right there, that's where, you know, in a race like this, those provisional ballots, those ballots that need to be cured, you know, this is where these things
need to make a difference. They could.
Yeah, they could, and that's why the counting continues.
Commission District 7 in Pinellas County with 100% of the precincts reporting. Renee Flowers with 67% of the vote to Maria Scruggs, 33% of the vote. Flowers leading by 42,631 votes. Again, we want to now go to Eric Glasser. We've been following the amendments for you here in Florida. Certainly important and certainly something that we've run down for you the last couple of weeks to help you understand. We want to go live to Eric Glasser to talk a little bit about the breakdown there. Eric?
Hey guys, yes, so you know, again, 6 amendments on the ballot that Floridians can talk about changing some of the ways that we vote, some of the things having to do with taxes. Let's take a look at Amendment 1. This was really just kind of a strange one from the beginning because our own experts and people that looked at it said it really wouldn't change anything. It basically would amend the Florida Constitution's language about voter eligibility. So instead of every U.S. citizen and Florida resident, it would be only a U.S. citizen and Florida resident. Really no effective change, but look at that, just an overwhelming number of people supported Amendment 1, and so it is gliding to a yes. Amendment 2, which would raise the minimum wage in the state of Florida, that looks like yes, it has passed. by the skin of its teeth. It needed 60%. That's what amendments need
Right
in order
on.
to pass on these
Raise that minimum
issues,
wage.
And it looks like it got just over that threshold. Not an easy thing to do in a tough economy right now because of COVID-19, but it looks like Amendment 2, which will raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour over the course of several years, $10 an hour next year, incrementally $1 more each year until the year 2026, until we reach.
Well, it's going to take 6 years for them to get minimum wage up? That's fucking
Amendments 3 and
bullshit.
4 still too close to call, so we're not doing that yet. But 5 and 6
Why isn't
are
it
tax
not instantly?
issues having to do with homestead exemption, portability, giving you an extra year. If you sell your home, you can use that Save Our Homes tax exemption. You get an extra year to find another homesteaded property and port that tax exemption. And then also Amendment 6, which basically says, look, if you're a disabled veteran, you pass away, you had a homestead exemption on your property, that passes along to your surviving spouse as long as that spouse continues to own the property and live in the property. That was exceedingly popular, getting close to 90% of the vote here in Florida. So that's where it stands right now on those amendments. I'll have a wrap-up, of course, coming up for you when all of them are in. But again, 3 and 4 look like they're going to be pretty tough. Those are things that would have changed the way that we vote in the state of Florida. It looks like they're not going to have such an easy time passing.
All right, Eric, we'll check in with you and we'll keep a close eye on that as well. We're going to go through some local races with you now. And if you have downloaded our 10 Tampa Bay app and you're going to be getting alerts all throughout the night, we want to let you know that Dunedin's mayor has been reelected and Jean Brown was elected the first new mayor of Bradenton in 20 years. So we're keeping an eye on all of our cities and counties throughout Tampa Bay. So if you download our app, if you have that already, you're going to be getting our alerts. You can continue to see some of those local races as well. We're keeping an eye on them for you. We're going to go through a couple more for you right now. U.S. House District 13 in Florida with 100% of the precincts reporting. Charlie Crist, the incumbent, keeps his seat against Ana Paulina Luna with 47% to Charlie Crist 53%. We saw Ana Paulina Luna talk with Jennifer Titus earlier this evening, and she said, "This is not going to be the last time you see me on a ballot." In U.S. House District 14, Kathy Castor, the incumbent, also keeps her seat with 60% of the vote to Christine Quinn, a businesswoman who took on Castor before in 2016, lost that one, again losing tonight to Kathy Castor, keeping her seat with 60% of the vote. U.S. House District 17, Greg Stubbe with 65% of the vote there to Alan Ellison with 34% of the vote in U.S. House District 17. And in Hillsborough County and in Pinellas County, both of the sheriffs were up for election. The sheriff of Hillsborough County, Chad Chronister, taking that. Again, he's going to continue to be sheriff in Hillsborough County with 55% of the vote to Gary Pruitt at 36%. And the sheriff in Pinellas County, again, we told you that he was up for re-election as well. Bob Gualtieri at 63% of the vote to Alessio Santana at 37%. You know, Courtney, one of the things as we've been going through this that we have seen over and over again is we're seeing a lot of the incumbents taking the race again here in 2020.
And that was what was interesting because it was incumbents, Democrats, Republicans. You and I were talking about that earlier. One thing that we are really focused on as well when it comes from a national viewpoint is the balance of power. And looking at the U.S. Senate right now, I can tell you Republicans have taken a seat in Alabama. So you can see they are maintaining that majority at this point, 53 seats to 45 as well. Now let's take it out to the electoral map as well. Big thing when it comes to that, in order for whoever is in the White House to really push through any agenda, they need control of the Senate. They need that upper chamber, and whoever wins this election will want to
it's
have
like the real
majority
election
control in the U.S. Senate. Right now, we are watching.
Like, if we
course,
can't get the Senate,
Florida,
we're pretty screwed.
Georgia, North
'cause-
Carolina. We've heard from analysts talking about
Because this looks like
you
they're
know,
packing the Supreme
really
Court.
Where southern states go can really dictate how this evening is going to go.
If they're gonna
In
pack the
10:15,
Supreme Court, we need the
10:17
Senate.
Tonight, you know, we are still watching, still very, very, very close. Let's bring it in to Florida, and you can see right now we have 97% of precincts reporting. You know, an important number. You can see 5,937 out of 6,097 reporting right here in Florida. Big thing that we've talked about is the vote by mail ballots, how that was a game changer. It's something that Florida is used to. Supervisors are able to process vote by mail ballots and early voting. So you have the vote by mail, you have that early vote, and then you have election day. And the big question was, what are we going to see in terms of election day turnout? What is that going to look like? We know that we went into today with more than 9 million voters heading to the polls or voting by mail. And today, at this point, more than 11 million. So, of course, people definitely turned out. And at this point, you can see President Trump, 51% of the votes right here in Florida. Vice President Biden, 48%, a difference of 382,000 votes. And of course, we are still waiting for a few precincts to come on. I want you to see this because we can take it in a little differently. And we've talked about this. This is the gradient, so you can see exactly how strong of a lead it is. This is one county that's really interesting. Take a look, of course, at Pinellas County. Look at that difference.
Pinellas.
1,000 votes.
Pinellas.
Both candidates.
Sorry, I'm officially 13.
President. And Pinellas, one of those counties that's white. You bring it up.
It looks like they have trans
another county
colors.
that we're closely watching, but difference here, 18,000.
Like it's the trans flag.
We take you up to Jefferson County, 581 votes. That's the difference right there. And then you come and you look at a county like Hillsborough, 50,000 votes. The lead for Vice President Biden in Hillsborough County, 53% to 46%.
For a second, because you were showing that before, and we were talking about that, just about 1,000 votes. The difference in there.
I mean, this is why we said watch this county, because it is such a split. And you can see 276,113, 50% for Vice President Biden, and then you have 275,000, 43, 49% for President Trump, and that's 100% of precincts reporting. So, at this point, right, how many provisional ballots are out there? How many vote by mail ballots were flagged, and they need you, the voter, to cure them? And we've walked you through that process. We have that up on 10tampabay.com in our voter toolkit, where you're able to go in. You can find out how to know if you have a problem with that, if there's a signature deficiency with your ballot that you need to address, and how you can cure that. And Pinellas County, when we asked them earlier today, we were trying to get an idea of what those numbers looked like. Pinellas County and Hardy County, those are the two counties in Tampa Bay.
At least they said it the other way around. They must have discussed this. They must have discussed this, that they would say Pinellas before they say Hardy.
An interesting county. And then
because if they say Hardy, Pinellas.
Pasco County, Hernando County, Polk County, very strong right here. Hardy County, the difference right here, 72%, the lead, 72% for President Trump in Hardy County, 27% for Vice President Biden. Again, that's Hardy County. So, Hillsborough, Pinellas.
Kind of sad, like we live in a country where there's like a lot of people who just don't care about other people's human rights, or don't want to hear it. That's really it. I think that's really it.
She had tweeted that
is they think this is just a political exercise. That they think that voting for Trump isn't like a vote against human rights when it is.
Which you said is absolutely normal. That is how it would happen.
And it affects everybody because of COVID.
Received approximately 2,000 ballots.
Right, like because of COVID,
so
like
that was about an hour ago. All could have happened.
Like it literally affects everybody's human rights.
All still very normal for things to be happening.
Let's put that into perspective about processing those ballots that they need, because look, we said to you today, you have until 7 o'clock tonight to turn in that vote by mail ballot at the Supervisor of Elections office. And what happens in a county like Pinellas versus another county is going to look a lot different. But we know that in Pinellas County, they're able to process roughly 10,000 ballots an hour.
Yeah, so it's definitely something that they're looking at. They know what they're doing. They're getting it all in. We're keeping you updated. We're keeping you posted as best we can. We wanted to go back to yeah,
I wouldn't want to go to Florida.
US House District 13 with Charlie Crist and Anna Paulina Lula. 53% of the vote going to incumbent Charlie Crist. He spoke just a little bit earlier this
Seems
evening
like a very
about
right-wing
what it was like to
place.
be reelected.
It's an amazing night. First and foremost, I want to thank the voters of Pinellas County. I'm humbled and very grateful to have won again. It means a lot to me, and it means a lot to Pinellas County, apparently. So, number one, I'm just grateful. It's, public service, I think, is a calling, and it's something that I've done for a long time, and I'm honored to have the opportunity to do it some more.
Anna Paulina Luna losing that race, but putting up a very good fight. She is an Air Force vet. Her husband served in the military as well. She said earlier, do not count her out. Expect to see her name.
You know, Obama lost his first congressional and then he ran for Senate and won. So you just never know, but I can tell you that I'm a triple threat. Obviously, as a first-time candidate, there's a lot of learning curves. There's no how to run for Congress, but I can tell you that I've enjoyed every moment of it, and I completely believe in fighting for this country. I'm still pro-life, pro-God, pro-gun, and anti-socialist.
Oh, fuck her.
And I hope that, honestly, I have an amazing mentor, and I think that we're
Like, she had to say that. She has to, like, what?
You never know.
The fact that you have
She's
to
already
say
looking
that in
ahead.
order to get
She hasn't taken
elected
it
as a Republican is
badly at
bullshit.
all. She is ready
That
to
you
go.
have
All right,
to
we're gonna take a
apply,
quick break
like,
here on digital. Stay with us. You're still gonna be able to
hateful
watch us here,
religious
but we are going to
beliefs
jump
in
on
order
our TV
to
audience to give an update on
justify
some of our
your
elections
party.
globally and,
It's
of course,
ridiculous.
across the country. Hang on.
It's just absolutely ridiculous.
Hello and thank you for joining us for 10 Tampa Bay America Decides update. The Associated Press has been declaring some winners tonight. The AP just declared Scott Franklin the winner in U.S. House District 15. He was running against Alan Cohn. Franklin defeated Ross Spano in the primary, who has had this seat in Congress. Republican Gus Bilirakis has won re-election to U.S. House in Florida's 12th congressional district. The incumbent was running against Democrat Kimberly Walker. Republican Daniel Webster has won re-election to U.S. House in Florida's 11th congressional district. The incumbent was running against Democrat Dana Cottrell. Here's a big one in Pinellas District 13. Charlie Crist has been declared the winner running against Anna Paulina Luna. And incumbent Democrat Kathy Castor has been declared the winner in U.S. House District 14 against Christine Quinn. Another one with a declared winner is District 16 in Sarasota, where the incumbent Republican Vern Buchanan has won re-election against Margaret Good. And in District 17 in Central Florida, incumbent Greg Stubbe has won re-election against Alan Ellison. These candidates also ran against each other back in 2018.
All right, so let's take a look at how things are coming in across Florida. Right now, you can see 97% of precincts reporting here in Florida. Taking a look at this, you can see President Trump, 51%.
This is not looking too good at the moment.
48%, a difference
for
of
Florida.
381,000, almost 382,000. We are, of course,
But we'll
seeing,
see.
all of the counties bringing in their results.
As all the mail-in ballots
and
come in.
These are the numbers that we are
It's gonna be, looks like it's going to be
Let me take
Florida
you
and
through
Arizona.
the, just how strong of a lead things are, because one of the things that we are looking at when we talk about talking about the difference between the lead for President Trump and Vice President Biden, just how strong of a lead it is. And the counties that are a little lighter, these counties, that means that the lead is not as strong. And take a look at Pinellas County, for example, where you have a difference of 1,000 votes separating these two.
Yeah, I mean, some of these
We
are like really
watching
close.
this. The counting is underway. The counting
And they're
is not
still doing the
over.
counting.
Even after all is said and done, if as the Associated Press starts to make calls for Florida, for other states, of course, there is still going to be counting, as we have vote-by-mail ballots that have been flagged. We have provisional ballots, and we have military and overseas ballots that are on their way to Florida supervisors.
Yeah,
right
it's
now.
just so much.
Extremely important when you're looking at that very, very 1,000 votes in between. Thank you for
Yeah, like
joining us here
your
on 10
vote,
Tampa Bay. We are
your
streaming
vote
right now on
matters.
all of our
Okay,
social
like
platforms and
1,000.
TampaBay.com. Now back to CBS News 20.
That could be like an entire couple of neighborhoods, right? Couple neighborhoods can make a difference. Yeah, it's just kind of
Thing to look up is
What's going on? What?
I was coming over here to take a peek and check back in on the turnout that we had in 2016 compared to 2020, because
A little bit different this year.
Yeah, you know, we've had so many turnout to vote. That has really been one of the most incredible things. You know, historically, 1992, that presidential election, 83% turnout, and that was, you know, what we were wondering where we would reach at that point. And you know, here with 97% of precincts reporting, at last check, I think we were at 77% voter turnout. Those are numbers that will fluctuate as these are unofficial results. Again, unofficial results coming in. The Associated Press providing us our data this evening. Taking a look at Florida in all of this, you can see President Trump, 51%. Vice President Biden, 48%. We haven't really seen this fluctuate much recently, but taking a look back at our electoral map for the United States, Florida is one of those
You're bringing
states
up that electoral map.
Is the state that we are watching very closely. And analysts are also looking at North Carolina and Georgia in terms of the South and what the southern states are going to dictate as far as the electoral votes that are needed. At this point, President Trump needs 172 electoral votes. Vice President Biden, 139. Very, very close.
Florida's 29.
Still waiting for many of these states to come in. You'll remember North Carolina, of course, their results rolling in a little later this evening. Their polls close at 7:30, but their results were not released until 8:15 tonight because the State Board of Elections in North Carolina said, hey, there were some issues, there were some problems, and so some of these polling locations, there are 4 polling locations in the entire state that had experienced issues as far as like opening or had to pause operations, and because of that, staying open between 17 minutes and 45 minutes, delaying those results as well. But in Florida, we've been checking, Allison, and you know, we really have not heard of any major issues happening right now. One thing that we've warned about going into this, there's going to be armies of attorneys on standby for all of this. So, you know,
good to see that it's okay.
Yeah, good to see right now it is okay. And we know that there were, you know, poll workers who were out there doing their jobs, making sure that there was order and discipline at the polls, that voters were able to come in and do what you were there to do, vote, make sure that your voice was heard. And there were also poll watchers who were there, making sure the poll workers
the poll watchers.
Everyone was keeping their eye on this election, for sure.
Of course. I mean, you don't take your eye off the prize.
No, not at all. Of course, all eyes are on Florida, but another state that everybody is watching as well is Ohio. We want to bring in Scott Light today, a political consultant joining us from Columbus, Ohio. And we want to talk to you about Ohio because that state could really set the tone for the Midwest.
Coming in, and I had both Republicans and Democrats telling me this, that President Trump would most likely win this state by 2 to 3 percentage points. But there were even some polls last week that had Biden up here in Ohio. I'm pulling up the latest numbers right now on my laptop, and President Trump is up here by 5 points. So again, just like 2016, President Trump is overperforming what the polls said he would do. He is doing it again in 2020. To your point, when you came to me just a minute ago, now people are going to start looking at what that may portend to show us in the rest of the Midwest. We know it was the 3 states of Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan that determined the presidency in 2016.
What a word.
It is shaping up to be those 3 again. So is Ohio again an indicator that the polling could be off in those 3 states that I mentioned? We're going to have to wait and see, and we're most likely, Allison, going to have to wait and see for days, because at least in the state of Pennsylvania, it may be 2, 3, 4, 5, or maybe a week or so, 7 or more days before we have the official count in that state.
Now, when you're looking at something like that, you're looking at 7 days out to get some kind of official. What are your thoughts about that, or what do you say to people about looking ahead a week still?
Guys better buckle in.
And that's going to be tough for everybody. And we know that President Trump has been saying some things that, hey, we have got to know the results as of tonight.
Yeah, if you think that it's going to be decided tonight, you have another way thing coming.
On election night, votes are not certified on election night.
It's never been decided on election night.
To hear what he has to say, and if even the former Vice President Biden will come out and say anything on a night like tonight. The thing I'll be watching in, let's say, Pennsylvania, for example, Biden needs to run up the score in Philadelphia, in the suburbs in Philadelphia. And then on the other side, watch to see how Trump does in the Allegheny Valley area, kind of that nexus of Pennsylvania, Ohio, and West Virginia, those Appalachian counties in western Pennsylvania. And again, let's mention Wisconsin and Michigan again. Polling has been pretty heavily, high single digits for Joe Biden here, and it's been steady leads for him in both of those states. But again, polling was off again here in Ohio this time around, just like it was in 2016. So we'll have to wait and see what happens in Wisconsin and in Michigan as the night rolls on.
Yeah, absolutely. So talking about polling in those states then, and talking about Ohio and what you're seeing and looking at those numbers, what do you say about polling in those states and what people should be watching for as we go throughout the night and into the next couple of days?
Pollsters said this. They said two things that they classified as either being imprecise or mistakes when it came to 2016. And they said they readily undercounted the white working class and white voters without a college degree. So that was one thing. But the other thing they said was this, that the poll showed that all those undecided voters in 2016 broke late for Donald Trump. That's absolutely true. But what they said this time around was that the number of undecided voters really throughout the country was a lot lower compared to 2016. So they weren't expecting that big break, so to speak. I mean, if you go back and look at Hillary Clinton's polling numbers the last 3 weeks leading up to Election Day, the sirens were going off. I mean, they really were, but not a lot of people were paying that close of attention to it. So we know, I think we can discern that, again, pollsters did not get in touch with enough white working class voters. So that's one thing. And then it'll be interesting to see if, say, the undecided vote was at 3 or 4%, did those folks go heavily late breaking in President Trump's favor again this year, just like they did in 2016?
More watching and waiting for us to do tonight. Thank you so much, Scott, for joining us and for giving us that insight. We certainly appreciate it. Courtney.
All right, and I have some news to add to the counts for President Trump at this point, picking up Missouri and those 10 electoral college votes. Adding to that, if we take it back and take a look here at Florida, if I can get it down. Okay, we're having some issues with that, but we'll leave this here where it is for right now and see if we can fix the issues that are happening with our mapping software right now. Florida, 29 electoral college votes up for grabs, very, very important. North Carolina, 15, Georgia, 16. These are some of the these three states as far as the South. These are what we're going to be watching. In Florida, I was popping around and looking at our map, and I can tell you that in Florida, if you know what, if we pop over right here, I'm just going to go ahead and pop it up.
Live television.
Yeah, I know, this is it. But hey, look, you know what, this is important because look, hey, thanks, Ryan, I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm glad I was investigating a little bit earlier. So I was looking around and going, okay, where are the votes? Where are all the votes that we need, right? What's going on? Because we've got 98% right here. Take me back to that heat map for me, Ryan. Okay, so you've got that pop-up Osceola County. Osceola County, 49% reporting. But as Allison mentioned earlier, Osceola was one of those that was driving those ballots in, so they're probably still processing those right now. Osceola, one that we're going to be watching. Now bring it down here. I mean, you have 97% reporting in Miami-Dade, and if you kind of pop up, Broward County, 100%, and Palm Beach County, another one that we're watching, 96%. Remember, these are areas where you could have voters standing in line after 7. They're trying to process those, get those.
4 counties, by the way, that's still missing precincts on that.
Oh, that's in the right area of the board.
These 4 counties. missing, right? If we pop out of there.
Oh, they're having technical difficulties.
There we go. Anyway, so if we go through that,
It's okay,
and look
guys.
at that, there are also
We got it.
vote by mail ballots that also need to be processed. And we know that canvassing boards, they were meeting at 7 o'clock. They were going through, they were looking at all of those. If there were voters that came in, voted
I was
provisional,
1 point
maybe
off.
because they didn't bring their ID, signature matches, that ballot gets accepted. And those are the numbers that we're going to start to look at as well. But
I wonder.
Florida, of course, 98% precincts reporting. Huge, incredible turnout. I mean, look at this. We have 5,618,656 votes for President Trump, 5,236,685 votes for former Vice President Joe Biden. And I mean, that is just an incredible amount of voters who are casting those ballots. And think about this, when we're looking at this and we take it back to that electoral college map, some of the states that we're going to be watching, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, can you imagine in the state of Florida with that number, more than 11 million votes, if we had to start counting 11 million votes tonight?
Right.
Can you just
lot.
imagine? It's just unbelievable, and it will take a long time because you know what? We went through this process. We were trying to help, as we were leading up to today, letting you know how things go. And when it comes to a vote by mail ballot, it's not just boom, okay, done. There's a whole process. Signatures have to be verified. They have to physically be opened, the ballot taken out, scanned, and then tabulated. It is certainly a process, and of course we're going to be watching. I was listening in on a call the other day with the Attorney General from Wisconsin, and he said, he doesn't expect they're going to be counting for a week, but he said, maybe maybe tomorrow or the day after that, as far as those vote by mail ballots goes. As we have said, and as Scott pointed out just a little bit ago, when it comes to counting, we don't know the results on election night. These are unofficial returns. There's a process we continue to count. We have to count the cured ballots that of course voters, you have the option to go in up to 2 days after the election, so this Thursday, 5 p.m., and make sure that you fix any problems with your by-mail ballot, provisional ballots. Those get counted, and then we have overseas votes. Those are all things that are going to be counted, and then our results are not certified until November 17th.
Thankfully, as you said, that we've had some time to count those early voting. We've had weeks to do that.
Well, we would never get any sleep here.
That's absolutely true. Are we going to go to Lars Hafner now, one of our political analysts? So, Lars, thanks for talking with us and for being here tonight. What do you think about Florida right now?
Sure. Well, it's been an interesting evening. Again, it looks like the pollsters were a little bit off in what they were telling us was going to happen in Florida, but also two major things occurred. One is that the Democrats did not get the vote that they needed to come out of Dade County. That also happened actually back in 2018 with the gubernatorial race. They counted on more Democrats showing up and voting, and that did not occur. And I think the second point of tonight is that in the villages, Biden was not able to make the inroads with the seniors. We'd heard a lot of talk about seniors flipping to Biden because of the virus being their number one issue. But when push comes to shove, it looks like they fell back into the ranks.
Are you surprised by either of those? You bring up Miami-Dade, you bring up the villages. Are you surprised at how either of those went?
I am, because the trends seem to be that for seniors in Florida that the virus was the number one issue, and Trump continued to campaign acting as though the virus wasn't a major concern, and that seemed to be off-putting to the seniors. But then again, the number one issue tends to come back around to pocketbook issues, and in the villages in particular, that's important, and so the economy may have won out there. And as far as Dade County is concerned, I do think it has a little bit to do with him being able to get the message in there, the negative message against Biden, saying that he's a socialist, and that began to really take place with the Latinos. And so either they didn't come out to vote or they came out and voted for Trump, and that helped with keeping the margin close in Dade County.
As we continue throughout the night tonight and watch states continue to come back and their returns coming back, do you think that this says anything about the polling, for one, and what we can expect, and also what this could mean? You know, does Florida have any kind of tone? Does it set anything for the rest of the evening?
Well, it's interesting because it does, in the fact that had Biden been able to win Florida, it would have been an early evening and he would have won the presidency. Now it's going to be a prolonged process. It used to be that polling was pretty much a science. Over these last couple elections, now we're becoming.
I don't know if that was 100% true. If he won Florida tonight, like, I don't think that's 100% true.
Right, for whatever reason.
Because we still have to count all the
It
ballots.
seems that
Like,
in each of the states that they thought Biden had an opportunity to win, that Trump makes a comeback in the very end and pushes the vote ahead, and he eventually wins the state. And that's what happened in 2016 too. We're seeing it happen again now in Florida. We're seeing it happen in North Carolina. The opportunity that Biden still has that looks fairly good for him is Arizona. And if he wins Arizona, regardless of whether he wins Pennsylvania, as long as he wins Wisconsin and Michigan, he at least knows he's in a 269 tie. But then again, he can also pick up the one congressional seat in Nebraska, the one congressional seat in Maine, and still become a victor. But then again, he could still win Pennsylvania, and that would give him even a larger margin of victory.
Which is going to take a little bit of time to get that in. Lars, thank you so much for talking with us tonight and for being here. We will talk to you soon. As you know, on your ballot, there were 6 amendments that you had to vote on. Eric Glasser has been following those amendments for the last several weeks, and he is here tonight with an update.
So let's run through them quickly. Here's how Florida voted on those 6 proposed constitutional amendments. Starting with Amendment 1, changing the text of who's eligible to vote in Florida from every U.S. citizen to only a U.S. citizen. Experts said that would effectively do nothing. Voters apparently disagreed, passing it with ease. On Amendment 2, Florida's minimum wage is going up. COVID-19 made it a tougher sell in a weakened economy. Still, Amendment 2 managed to eke out a win, so Florida's minimum wage will increase to $15 an hour by the year 2026. Amendment 3, which would have opened up Florida primaries to all voters, was defeated, as was Amendment 4, which would have required future constitutional amendments.
That's so weird.
It's
like a mirror now.
60% of the
Like,
vote in 2 elections. Voters seem to think 1 is tough enough. And voters clearly liked Amendments
Like you're
5
seeing
and
what I
6.
see
5
now.
gives people an extra year if they sell
Except
their
it's
primary
weird
residence to carry that Save Our Homes
because it's
tax
like at an
break over
angle
to another
downward.
homesteaded property. And Amendment 6 lets the surviving spouse of a permanently disabled veteran hang on to an extra exemption as long as they continue to own the home and live there.
All right, Eric Glasser, thank you so much. If you want to continue to get updates throughout the night on any of the races or on those amendments, you can do so at 10tampabay.com. We've been talking a lot about just how close this race is. We're going to head back over to Courtney because you're taking a look at, obviously, the presidential race because it's pretty close at this point in Florida.
I mean, this is the big ticket draw, right? This is why voters turn out. They turn out for a presidential election, and we saw that happen today. We saw that happen with early voting. We saw that happen with by mail voting. At this point, we have, more than 11 million folks in Florida turning out, voting. And so when you look at those amendments and you see the breakdown on those, they didn't just vote for the top of the ticket, but they also voted, for the down ballot races, as they're called. But yes, looking right now, 98% of precincts reporting. This includes those partial vote by mail returns, those early votes. Those were the first that we saw pulled, that came right out the gate at 7 o'clock this evening. And you can see, a lead for President Trump, 51%, Vice President Biden, 48%, a difference of 382,209 votes. Now, that being said, Florida still too close to call. It is, separating 3%, which is a lot. It's actually a lot more than we've seen in previous elections. If you take it back to 2016, 1 percentage point, 1 point separating President Trump and Hillary Clinton. Again, though, we are looking at all of this. There are some counties where we are still expecting ballots to come in. We have Osceola County, as well as Miami-Dade, Broward's in, but Palm Beach County. So we are waiting for votes here. We also have outstanding ballots that we've talked about with the vote by mail that have been flagged, the provisional ballots, as well as military and overseas ballots. The counting continues. Just because there may be a projection this evening or later this evening for the state of Florida, that counting continues. These are unofficial results. They must be certified.
And that's something that you have been told over and over again, with the Vote Squad has been told over and over again, that that's something that we all should expect that is going to continue to happen as we go throughout the next couple of days and throughout the evening.
And you know what's really, I really am thrilled with this election in terms of previous elections that we've covered. I mean, the very first election that I covered, 2006, I think, in Virginia, 2005, and then of course prior to that, when I was in college, John Edwards and John Kerry. When we look at this one, we're really focusing on voter integrity. We're focusing on the process and really helping you walk through it. Because when's the last time that we talked about all of this? When do you get to learn exactly what the rules are in an election? And what I've found is, there are rules in place. There have been things that have happened since 2000 that make Florida
how different
unique.
It is.
Yeah, well, exactly. And one supervisor said this to me, and it stuck with me when she was talking. When we talk about counting. Just because we're counting doesn't mean something's wrong. It means everything is right. We are doing our job. Everything is working correctly. And so the counting will continue. But again, of course, we are following exactly what's happening here in Florida. If I total it out, again, 98% of precincts reporting. We have 51% President Trump, 48% former Vice President Biden, and then taking it out from a wider perspective right here.
Still a lot to go.
Yes, we still have a lot to go. Still, even on the East Coast here, on the East Coast, and then of course, as the West Coast, as those polls begin to close, then up will pop their results as well.
It's all flickering all the time.
The by-mail ballot will be very, very interesting to see how that has impacted how quickly we get returns. We have seen a lot of these states come online relatively quickly. Allison.
And what you're talking about too is that, yes, it's pushing people to go out and to vote for president, right? But Eric has been talking about the amendments. We're also talking about Hillsborough and Pinellas both have sheriffs, and they both were reelected. And talking about too that a lot of the incumbents in a lot of the races were also reelected.
Republican and Democrat.
Right, on both sides.
On both sides of that, yeah.
There were a lot of important elections besides the presidential election that are local and important to our communities.
Exactly. And you know what? One of those, Liz Crawford was talking about with school board.
Yeah.
As a mom, and I have a kindergartner, and then we go into quarantine, and there's a pandemic, and you're watching the school board looking for answers. That's when these positions
how much of the
really
conversation
mattered.
has been about Hillsborough schools, your child's schools, schools across the country, schools across the state?
Yes, of course. I mean, you're paying attention now to, as you said, to positions within your local community that matter. And of course, with a presidential election, certainly turnout did not hurt.
And speaking of schools, just now we just pushed this from our 10 Tampa Bay app. Kurt Browning wins a third term as Pasco County Schools Superintendent. Again, important to parents when so much of the conversation right now during the pandemic has been about schools and about your child and about your family.
And not every county, I mean, we should point this out, not every county in the state of Florida elects their superintendent. Your school board members are elected, but Kurt Browning, one of those superintendents elected by voters.
More than 4 decades of a political career that he has had, and he beat out his opponent Cynthia Thompson for that race. Again, we're talking about Kurt Browning winning the re-election as Pasco County Schools Superintendent. All of our election results, if you want to talk about school board members, if you want to talk about the president, if you want to talk about House of Representatives, you can go onto 10tampabay.com. You can take a look at all of the election results. We're going to be continuously updating that as we continue to get more and more of those results in throughout the night tonight. That has certainly been a good place, a good source to be able to go there and to take a look at all of that and all of those races and take a look at those amendments again and see how they all did and see how you voted and how that all turned out. But it certainly has been an interesting night to watch.
It's not over.
And it's not over.
Allison. Night, morning. Daytime.
And as we
in
just
for a
heard him
long haul here.
speaking about, he was talking about the fact that in Pennsylvania, he was talking 7 days out, that would even be something that we would.
Yeah, it's going to be like a week. It's going to be a whole
Florida
week. Buckle in,
as a state that was really
buckaroos.
set up for success because we do have, several ways that voters can vote. You can vote early, in person. You can vote by mail with no excuse, able to do that. And you can also vote on Election Day. And the big question was how many people would show up in person to vote on Election Day, and what would that mean for our results? And of course, going into this, we had a little more than 9 million, and we have had already more than 11 million. So, 11 million, 11 million thus far.
Hey, Starduck.
Still counting those. Still
I know,
looking for
right?
voters
It's super
out there.
stressful.
But
we're going to make
certainly
it through it.
voters decided
Regardless of what
they would
happens,
show
life
up
goes on,
they would
and we
make
play
sure
more
that their
Go.
vote counted.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us here. We're going to take we're going to stay online. We're going to take a quick break, though. We're going to go talk to our TV audience. We will be back in just a few minutes.
Yep.
I hope you're having a good evening. Yeah, we're doing kind of a political stream, watching the election stuff at real time. Right now we're watching the Tampa, Florida, I guess, because that's really what it all comes down to right now is Florida. And it's kind of stressful, but we got to make it through. And what better way to make through it than just to, like, go through some shusaku?
Yes, please.
So
Thank
what I
you.
like to do... What I like
Perfect.
to do when I'm
You
playing
guys are
through
tuning into
Master
us online?
Games is I like to set it up on the board and I try to play Guess the Move, and I play the move for each stone, for each turn, for like black and white, as if I'm playing it in a real game, and then I check
Hi,
to
and
see
thanks
if
for
it's the
joining us on
move
10
that
Tampa
happened
Bay
in the
America
game.
Decides update. One thing's for sure, all eyes on Florida yet again, Ryan.
Yeah, we are waiting to see if and when Florida does get called. It's not just the state, though. You're looking at congressional races and, of course, down ballot, those constitutional amendments. We're going to get to how Florida looks in a moment. But let's take a look at what happened with those amendments. 10 Tampa Bay's Eric Glasser breaks it down for us.
So let's run through them quickly. Here's how Florida voted on those 6 proposed constitutional amendments. Starting with Amendment 1, changing the text of who's eligible to vote in Florida from every U.S. citizen to only a U.S. citizen. Experts said that would effectively do nothing. Voters apparently disagreed, passing it with ease. On Amendment 2, Florida's minimum wage is going up. COVID-19 made it a tougher sell in a weakened economy. Still, Amendment 2 managed to eke out a win, so Florida's minimum wage will increase to $15 an hour by the year 2026. Amendment 3, which
I guess
would
I
have
don't need to play in
opened up
that part of the
Florida
board,
primaries
huh?
to all voters, was defeated, as was Amendment 4, which would have required future constitutional amendments to get at least 60% of the vote in 2 elections. Voters seem to think 1 is tough enough. And voters clearly liked Amendments 5 and 6. 5 gives people an extra year if they sell their primary residence to carry that Save Our Homes tax break over to another homesteaded property. And Amendment 6 lets the surviving spouse of a permanently disabled veteran hang on to an extra exemption as long as they continue to own the home and live there.
All right, now let's get you caught up in some of the big races that we are seeing here tonight. Let's start in Pinellas, District 13. Charlie Crist has been declared the winner there, running against Ana Paulina Luna. The former governor will continue to serve St. Pete, Largo, and Clearwater. Now, another one to look at, District 16 down in Sarasota, where the incumbent Republican Vern Buchanan has won re-election against Margaret
I don't know if
Good.
that
District
works.
16 also serves Manatee County and southern Hillsborough County. And in District 17, that's in Central Florida, incumbent Greg Stubbe has won re-election against Alan Ellison. These candidates also ran against each other back in 2018. Now let's head over to the next one. Incumbent Democrat Kathy Castor has been declared the winner in U.S. House District 14. She was up against Christine Quinn yet again.
guess tacking
and
these
the
two
AP
stones.
declared Scott Franklin the winner in U.S. House District 15. He was running against Alan Cohn.
And I think I
Remember,
would rather
Franklin
sacrifice the
defeated
one on the
Ross
top
Spano in
right.
the primary. Also, we've got Republican Gus Bilirakis. He has won re-election to U.S. House District 12. The incumbent was running against Democrat Kimberly Walker there. And Republican Daniel Webster has won re-election to the U.S. House in Florida's 11th congressional district. The incumbent was running against Democrat Dana Cottrell.
And it was a big night for a couple of Bay Area sheriffs that were hoping to keep their jobs, and they did. 10 Tampa Bay is calling projected winners on both sides of the Bay. Let's start in Hillsborough County, where Sheriff Chad Chronister has kept his seat as the Hillsborough County Sheriff, winning in that race against a couple of challengers, but Gary Pruitt, the closest, 55% of the vote going the way of Chad Chronister. On the other side of the Bay, the current Pinellas County Sheriff, who's been in law enforcement there since the 80s, Bob Galtieri, he has won re-election against the challenger Eliseo Santana. Again, both sheriffs on both sides of the Bay, Chronister and Galtieri, getting to keep their posts. Another big local race is in the Hillsborough
I don't think
County
there's a way
School
to
Board. We saw
live.
Liz Crawford talking about
For a
this
second, I
on
thought
our
there was a
digital
way to
show.
live
3
over
of the 4
there.
races were won by newcomers. In District 1, Nadia Combs
Newcomers.
ousting the incumbent Steve Kona
Newcomers.
with 64% of the vote. North Hillsborough's District 3 electing substitute teacher Jessica Vaughn there with 61% of those votes. District 5 in Central Tampa went to Henry Shake Washington.
Hey, thanks
over
for the follow.
incumbent
Go Batu
Tammy
Kweti.
Schamberger. And Lynn Gray kept her seat in District 7, which is the countywide position. Carolina, take it from here.
And we just heard that Biden.
At the
won New
moment, we're
Hampshire.
just
hearing
watching
that
some
from my
news,
producer,
and I
Emma
have
here.
the
We
camera
have a whole
focused
lot of
on my
coverage for you.
GoBon.
We've been with you on social media as
Normally,
well
I
as here
don't
on
focus
TV,
the camera.
and we will continue to bring you
Normally,
updates
I
on all
focus the
races
camera
that
on
we are
myself,
keeping
so
an eye on.
it's
Many,
kind of
many
interesting.
races.
I just
Of course,
thought, like,
looking
since
at
I'm
the
playing
national
off
map,
the
looking at the road to 200.
off the
Florida's
board,
close,
like
too.
I'd like to
Florida's
show what I
close, and we,
play,
of course, are
so
keeping
you
a
can
close
see what
eye
I
on
try
that.
to play,
So
and
far,
then
clean
see the
election so far.
Shusaku game.
No real drama, right? Great to see.
Drama,
Great.
there's a
We don't
lot
want
of
drama.
drama.
No drama here in Florida. We've been there. We've been there. But again, we
Shusaku's
are
playing,
continuing to be with you here throughout
White.
the night here on TV. And Nightside is about to start in just a couple of
So we're going to come up at the top of the hour here. What you're going to expect to see is, one, I will take you to the map of Florida and show you how Donald Trump is able to gotten a big lead, bigger lead than we saw in 2016, and be on the cusp of winning Florida's 29 electoral college votes. I'll take you over the map in just a minute. Also, aside from that, we'll take a look at some of the important races. U.S. District House 13. We saw with Charlie Crist and Anna Paulina Luna there. That was a closer race than many expected.
And we saw the national attention on it. Yeah.
Yeah, Pinellas County, by the way, was pretty close too. All right, let's take you over to Nightside here on 10 Tampa Bay. Come join us as we go down all the races that impacted us here in Florida.
All right, let's get this started. Thank you so much for joining us on Nightside. I'm Carolina Lead. Ryan Bass right here with me, right next to me.
Yep.
Sixth Amendment.
Been here all night.
Local congressional races, sheriff's races, a lot to decide on. Voters had to decide today. Ryan, we start with some big news today. Tonight, really, Florida still a close call.
99% of the precincts reporting.
I don't
right
know
now.
how easy it is
We
to
cannot
see the
tell you
board,
who has won
but
yet.
it's
We're
like-
still waiting from some important precincts.
you can
down
see,
in
like,
South
the
Florida
very
and
edges
Osceola.
of the
A lot
board.
Enthusiasm though. 29 electoral college votes.
It's
are still
so
up for grabs.
weird. It's
I wanna
such a
get you over
weird
to the electoral
angle.
map, and I want to explain why Florida still has not yet called, and why it has been such a close race in recent years, including this year. Florida has been decided by an average of 2.6 percentage points, the slimmest margin of any state in the country. I want to go grab the touch screen over here so I can give you an idea. You're looking at the electoral map of where it stands right now across the country. In the state of Florida, let's take a closer look at where things stand right now. Again, 99% of those precincts are reporting. Pinellas County. This was a county that Joe
Yeah, this
Biden
is
had
not
thought that he could
too
potentially
great.
flip, and it looks like with 99% of those
Upside
precincts reporting,
down.
he has. Again, we're having a little trouble here with this
Here,
touch screen.
oh.
If we can,
Hold on.
since we're having some trouble here on Nightside. Sumter County, another one. 66 was the median age. Biden flipped Duval, Seminole, and Pinellas. It
talk
seems
about
at this
flip.
point, the margins, though, in Trump
Talk about
country
flip.
have been overwhelming. Again, some problems here with our
Welcome to the
tablet.
stream, you
Sorry about that,
guys.
This
Ryan.
electoral
We're
college.
We're just playing some
Pull it back
Go
up here for us,
and
Carolina,
Oh,
as we
here we
take a
go.
look.
Good. There we go.
watching the news.
As we take a look here across Florida. All right, so let's see where
'Cause
we
of
stand.
the big
Pinellas
thing that's
County,
going
still
on right
pretty
now.
close here. Look at that, 1,000 votes.
May have heard of it.
votes in Pinellas County with 100% of the precincts reporting. What made the difference down here in Dade? Donald Trump eating into the margins. Look back to 2016. Hillary Clinton won 2-1 over Donald Trump back then. 83,000 votes. Trump making the difference. And then Sumter County, he won by 39 percentage points.
Yeah, I
4
think
years
it's
ago.
important to-
Only lost basically.
Oh,
a
you can't
percentage
see my
point there.
hands anymore.
Carolina, Trump dominated in the
think it's
counties that he
important
needed
to,
and that made the difference tonight.
All right, I want to go ahead and take a look at the national
this
map.
group
Really,
here.
Florida was a major puzzle piece in the election
then
tonight,
just
and
give
it's
up
one of a
this
handful of major
center
states
here.
that we are waiting on across the country. Now, here is where things
I
stand
think you're just gonna capture.
right now. I have
Let's see.
just heard that Biden has won Washington as well as Oregon. Okay,
Oh, oops,
so
that's-
we're changing the map as we go
Two
here.
blue states
counties,
that he
yeah.
won 2 years ago.
Now keep in mind, yeah, we are of course focusing on Florida, on Georgia, on North Carolina, on Pennsylvania, but you see how the numbers change as we continue throughout the night. Oh, sorry, I didn't push Oregon, did I? There we go. So you got 12 electoral votes, you got 7 right there. Some of the changes, you see how the numbers change here. Trump still needs 162 needed, 116 needed for the 2 candidates right now. But again, real quick, want to mention the states that, of course, Ryan and I have been talking about all night. Florida, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, the blue wall here, Arizona, and even Texas. There's still some talk about Texas, even though it historically goes red.
We're really watching Florida, Georgia, and North Carolina.
Yeah, things
right
might
now
be
for these
changing.
returns. I want to welcome in Emerald
We never
Morrow
know.
now. We talked a lot about Florida.
Places
and
that
Emerald,
have traditionally
you're
been
there
blue
at that
might be
Trump
red
Pence
now.
watch party
Places
here
that have
in
been
Pinellas
traditionally
County.
red
I'd
might be
imagine
blue
they're pretty
now.
confident given the lead for the president here in Florida with 1% of precincts remaining.
Yeah, that's right. You know, Pinellas County leadership, GOP leadership, is certainly projecting an air of confidence this evening that President Trump will not only win the county, but the state and also the nation. But again, projections are just that. You know, we have to wait for those official results to come in. Let me give you a look at what it looks like here. This party has gotten significantly smaller since the last time we checked in with you all. A lot of people have gone. There was a much bigger crowd, but all night people have been glued to the screens, people watching those projections roll in.
Are you glued?
Pinellas Republicans have secured some big victories.
Or are you screwed?
A big one was the sheriff's race with Bob Gualtieri, who stopped by tonight. As for the presidential race, preliminary results do show Mr. Biden edging out Mr. Trump in Pinellas County, but the margin is very, very small, and we are still waiting for that official call. But Ryan, as we mentioned, the president is leading in the state, and that has supporters here feeling very, very good, but it's something, you know, we're going to have to play that waiting games, and of course, you know, we'll keep you posted on what we find out next. Back to you.
I think
you can hear the cheers there as they're listening. I want to welcome in our Josh Sidorowicz as well. This is on the opposite side of the ticket with the Biden-Harris campaign watch party here. I will say one thing, Josh. Pinellas County very close. That's been a bellwether county. The way they go, traditionally, since 1980, the way the White House goes, even though not necessarily looking good for Joe Biden in Florida, they have to feel confident with what they've seen in Pinellas.
Ryan, Pinellas County Democrats here tonight, they are watching, they are waiting, they are wondering if, as goes Pinellas,
the other
so
side.
goes Florida is still going to hold true here after all of this is said and done. You hear how slim a margin Biden holds right now, 1,070 votes. Why is that a big deal? It is the purplest county in the purplest state. Pinellas, not just a bellwether for Florida, but for the nation here. The mood at this party, which was mostly virtual, most of supporters joining via Zoom, it is cautious here. The chair of the Pinellas County Democrats says, hey, they'll take what they're getting right now, but when it is that tight, what that says about the state overall,
like a tiger.
what that says about the country here moving forward, it is anybody's guess.
And Josh, Associated Press calling a few races for us. These are projections. Remember, we just got them within the last, minute here to our newsroom, projecting that Joe Biden has taken California, Oregon, Washington. You see there 12, 7, 55. California, a big amount of electoral college votes, but Trump taking Idaho. So that has changed our numbers here. Come here and look at the numbers where we stand right now. Joe Biden needing 61 electoral votes to take this, while Donald Trump needs 158. As you heard Josh mentioning that right now, Florida is leaning pretty heavily towards President Donald Trump, still waiting on the 29 electoral votes to see which way that swings. That looks as if it will go red, but again, we have not projected the state of Florida as of now. Also, we are keeping a very close eye on a few key states. Georgia, just to the north of us, looking at the voters there, as well as, what'd you say, Brian? North Carolina, absolutely. North Carolina has had a lot of attention.
Trying to set the board back up.
And
One of my
we've talked
biggest
about
fears
Michigan,
is like
Wisconsin,
you're playing a
Minnesota,
go game over
and
the
of course,
board
we
and
can't
not on the
forget
computer,
Arizona.
and you
So
accidentally
it's still
drop a
early. We
stone
still
and
have quite
screw
a
the
bit to
entire
come in, but
board
as
up.
you've seen, some of these states
Like, would
come
you
in
have to
really,
start
really
the whole
fast.
game over
And Florida has
if
been
you
a state
can't
that we're still
remember
waiting to call
what it
Pinellas
looked
County.
like?
It looks like has flipped blue. We're still waiting to see. Again, the margin is so slim there. But we do know U.S. House District 13, the congressional district.
That's why you got to be
there.
really careful
Charlie
when you
Crist,
place your stones.
The one-time Republican governor here
Really
in Florida
careful.
has flipped parties to the Democratic side. He is beaten Anna Paulina Luna in this race, a lot closer than maybe some people had anticipated. But Chris there with 53% of the votes here in U.S. House District 13, keeping his seat. He's been a longtime member in government here, especially representing the state of Florida. He's been a St. Pete native. He grew up on Snell Isle, went to St. Pete High School, somebody that's very well known in the state and certainly well known as well from a national perspective as well. Jenna Bourne has been following this race closely for us and has both sides' reactions to what was a very close race in U.S. House District 13.
10 Tampa Bay asked Charlie Crist about his priorities for his third term in Congress. He tells us veterans,
Don't want to continue while the board's messed up.
The environment, and
make
voters'
sure it's
rights.
fine.
He says he wants to introduce a bill that would make Election Day a national holiday. Here's what he had to say tonight.
Yeah, I don't know
about his
why it's
victory
not
over
a
Republican
holiday
Air Force
so that
veteran
everybody
Anna
can
Paulina
vote. It doesn't
Been a
make any
spirited
sense.
campaign,
Should be a
and,
national
I'm
holiday.
excited tonight and grateful, humbled, honored.
Like, it doesn't make any sense. We have a freaking holiday celebrating like several hundred-year-old racists. You know, like Columbus Day, they had to fight to get rid of it or whatever.
About $250,000. Crist is a familiar face in Florida politics. The former
Okay,
governor
black
has
to
either
move.
been running for or serving in public office since the early 90s, first as a Republican, briefly as an independent, and now as a Democrat.
And our Vote Squad has
Here.
been getting you prepared to cast your ballots safely for months. Courtney Robinson with me now. Courtney, ooh, quiet. Real quiet.
Quiet here in Florida. Of course, we're still watching
We are.
the rest of the country, but let's take you down to Florida right now, where we are also watching, getting very close here, 99% reporting, but quiet in terms of the issues that we had been warned to watch for. I mean, from voter intimidation to cybersecurity. Not just supervisors, but voting rights groups throughout today said in Tampa Bay, smooth. Supervisors started counting by-mail ballots 3 weeks ago. We had 2 weeks of early voting. As we said, we went in today ahead of the game, and the turnout did not disappoint. In Florida, there are more than 14.4 million registered voters. The State Division of Elections reports turnout this election, again, 99% reporting, so still more votes out there.
Initially where I thought it would go.
14,848. That is almost 77% of registered voters. So Ryan, we're getting close to that 83%.
83% in 92, that was the record.
I don't know that we're going to hit that 1992 83%, but I'll tell you what, they definitely did not have 14.44 million voters in 1992. Again, the counting is not over. When we talk about what ballots could still be
This
out
is probably
there,
going to be the most
that's
historic election in the
Provisionals,
United States ever.
Vote by mail that needs
Because
to be cured. You have until 5 p.m.
it's like
on
for so
Thursday
long,
to fix
people my
any issues
age
with
like
your
never
ballot.
really
Look,
voted,
overseas, you have
and this is like the
military
first time
voters
I've
that had
actually
10
voted
days to get
as
their
an like
ballots to
I've been an
supervise. So we're
adult.
gonna be looking to that November 13th.
I'm 32 years old, so that's like
The
what,
Associated Press calling Utah for Trump.
All right, let's
14 years that I haven't voted, and then this is the last time that I'm actually voting using this name. So it's like the first and last time that that I voted with this name.
So Trump has 118
my dead name.
votes. Needs 152.
That you don't know about.
Still, Vice President Biden, 61. A lot to watch. Now listen, official county results in Florida, I want you to know that those are going to be due 15th to the state certified.
Would you be able to make life in the bottom left corner?
17th. Carolina.
Still, those ballots, again, these are unofficial results we wanted to tell you guys
just
about.
play
We got a lot
elsewhere.
more coming up, Carolina,
We do.
when we hit the break here after we come back.
We absolutely do.
Yeah, thinking I'm gonna have to focus as black. I'm gonna have to focus on the top and middle, like top right and middle. How to consolidate? Maybe play over here. Okay, just capture. Yeah, I guess in order to really capture this, to make sure the center is controlled by black, you have to like kind of make a strong group over there in order to point towards the center. This group is very much alive, but I'm thinking, oh no, here. Yeah, that's trying to connect here. Make the group have more liberties? No? And I think just fill that in. No? I think I would want to solidify over here. No? I guess separate those two groups. But we will see.
Here, Lars, I have a couple of questions to ask you. Let's keep it quick and concise. Let's start with the first one. Florida. What were you surprised about? I know we were looking at the margins in a couple of areas.
And I think
but
you
give me
do
30
need to
seconds
fill.
on your reaction to Florida and Donald Trump potentially winning this state again.
Nope. Not yet.
Well, certainly surprised that the Democrats couldn't turn out a better voter get out the vote.
I think
down in
now's the
Dade
time to
County.
capture his
I
white.
think that really tells the story of the election.
Maybe a
It
co-battle?
happened to him back in 2018 with the gubernatorial race as well. So something's going on in Dade County.
Just
that
some
the
endgame
Democrats have
moves.
to get fixed. The other point is the villages.
And then connect.
We heard a lot that the seniors in the villages were concerned about the virus and how Donald
Yep.
Trump handled the virus. But that didn't seem to pan out. When push came to shove, they went back to the
Push
economic
came
issues that they
to
all
shove? When
embraced.
push comes to
and,
shove. When
Trump
push
was
came
able
to
get
shove.
the same margin of victory out of the villages.
Lars, one last question for you. Paths to the White House for Joe Biden and Donald Trump, what are they?
Maybe get one more point, make some endgame move over here.
Well, right now it looks as though Trump is going to hold serve in the southeast.
Okay, connecting
But
to
where
this
we're
small
gonna be
group here.
watching now is
Make sure black
Arizona,
doesn't get the
where
center.
Biden has a lead, and if he wins Arizona, he does not have to win Pennsylvania. But if he wins Arizona and not Pennsylvania, then he has to pick up the congressional seats in Nebraska and Maine. Otherwise, it will
I
be
think
a
you need to make an empty
269,
triangle here.
tie, but he can get to 271 with those two congressional seats. So we'll be watching Arizona, Pennsylvania, and of course, Wisconsin and Michigan.
All right, Lars, thank you so much for
Okay,
that perspective.
going after that
There's
bottom
so
group.
much to deal with tonight as we break down the country.
just
More to come
connect.
here on election night 2020. We will be right back here with you. Plus, we're going to have a
No?
check of your forecast, the weather. We're actually going to talk about the weather coming up after the break.
See you in a bit.
Let's go check another station. What's Yahoo doing?
United States. That success would not be possible without your leadership. Thank you, Madam Chair Shuri Bustos. Thank you all. Good evening. You can. Madam Chair, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. I can see you, but you can't see me. Thank you for joining us. I know that transportation is always challenging in this time of coronavirus, but thank you for joining us.
Election day is always a sad day. Hopefully it's a good day.
Praise you,
but it's going to take like a week.
Our House Democratic majority.
So you better buckle in, move.
Under your leadership, Madam Chair, we have held the House, and now
Pelosi voted to confirm Bennett. Oh God.
How much better we will do than
maybe
that.
she thought the feminism was like maybe she thought the feminism outweighed the problems.
Has not chimed in yet, so there's more to come. Our race this
She's
time
like,
was all
oh, I
about
really don't
healthcare.
want her there,
This was
but
vote your health.
she's a woman.
We had that in the last election. Our
so
for the people
conflicted.
agenda was we're going to lower healthcare costs by lowering the cost of prescription drugs, preserving pre-existing conditions. It became the issue of the 2018 election under the leadership of the policy committee that that Madam Chair was a co-chair of then, carrying that message into this election because it is of concern to the American people.
I think you just want to connect here.
It is amplified by the coronavirus. So our purpose in this race was to win so that we could protect the Affordable Care Act and that we could crush the virus, that we could stop the spread of it, that we could reward our workers who risk their lives to save lives and now might be losing their jobs, and that we can put money in the pockets of the American people. So I'm very, very proud of the fact that tonight, relatively early,
going towards
able
the center,
to say that we have held the House. It is something quite spectacular because the people who helped us win were the people who have been affected by it. Thousands of those who have been diagnosed.
Let me see if I can make this board bigger. Let's just a second.
Condition have spoken out, have told their stories, and that was the most compelling argument of all. So again, that was our purpose. We have succeeded in that. Now we have to win the White House, and we're well on our way to doing that. But again, we're speaking to our friends in Virginia. Over 2 million votes have not been counted in Virginia yet, so we're waiting to see what that brings in and what that means for the presidential race. But I'm here just to sing the praises of our House Democrats and our candidates, not just in terms of numbers. It's not just about the quantity. It's about the quality of leadership that they provide for our country. It's about the fact that they are there in the Congress. We are all there for the people. And to have a strategic plan to be successful, to retain our control, to hold the House, actually is how we say it, we couldn't be better served than by our chair, Cheri Bustos. And all of the pillars of winning an election, whether it was the mobilization at the grassroots level, even virtually, she has succeeded. Whether it's about messaging in a very disciplined way, she has succeeded. And about amassing the financial resources, the money, the third M, she has broken all records. And
at least it's a little bigger.
She retained and commanded the respect of the House members and the confidence of all of our candidates. So with that, I want to acknowledge again Chair Cheri Bustos of Illinois. Madam Chair, I yield to you with an honor. Thank you.
All right, Speaker Pelosi, thank you so much for your kind words. And obviously your leadership of this caucus, you've been absolutely amazing. I'm joining you tonight from Moline, Illinois, which is my hometown. Moline is kind of the center of America. It's, people here, they take
try to
that
get this
literally,
top side.
and they work hard and look after each other. It's around
K-17.
places like this that if your neighbor falls ill, you offer to bring over a meal to them, or you offer to look after their kids. It was in 2018 that Democrats won back the House by reaching out to people in towns like Moline, by listening to them. And here's what people in those towns, the center of America,
Colleagues, as well as local elected officials and organizers in several states today, the ones you just referenced, and I'm optimistic. I think we're ultimately going to have a great outcome for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. They've had the right message from the beginning of this campaign about bringing people together, getting us out of this pandemic, and building back stronger our economy. But we just have to be patient and make sure that every vote gets counted in what ultimately may be one of several paths towards a victory by Joe Biden tonight or tomorrow.
The Trump campaign threw out Minnesota as a possible pickup for them. Do you see that in the cards? Is it something you're worried about?
I really don't. What I'm hearing from Minnesota elected officials I've touched base with is that although Minnesota is a state where you can show up and vote at the last moment, they don't see anything that's happened on the ground today that suggests to them that Donald Trump may unexpectedly take Minnesota.
Senator, we have to say congratulations to you. You won your race. Turns out you also had a campaign to run. But what about what's going on in the Senate? I know Democrats had high hopes of taking back this Senate, but some of the races are not turning out as expected. In particular, North Carolina, Tom Tillis, the Republican incumbent, appearing to do better than many expected.
Well, so far I've been encouraged by the outcomes in Colorado and likely in Arizona. I'm sorry for my colleague Doug Jones, who you called to not be reelected, but he's done a great job in the Senate. He's encouraging in Georgia and in other states, but in several states that we expect to pick up Senate seats in, it is still too close to call.
Right.
Senator Coons, good to talk to you. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you. We will take another quick break here. We'll continue with our coverage.
This is a very complicated, I guess this is the middle game? I guess? I don't know.
Ready to go to work?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
She's
I
Joe
don't know.
Biden's choice to be next in line. But who is Kamala Harris? Join me, Joy Reid, as I explore her life's journey from Oakland to Washington on my 6-part podcast, Kamala Next in Line. New episodes every Monday. Subscribe for free wherever you get your podcasts.
Washington feels more chaotic than ever. It's my job to ask the tough questions, left and right.
Only been playing about a month, but it looks like middle game. Yeah, it's very complicated middle game. This is a game. This is a game between. It's kind of an ancient game. It's in the Shusaku folder that I have. So it's like a really old game, like I think like over 100 years old. Some of those old games are really good. Yeah, I'm not really used to looking at a lot of like top level games. So it's like something I'm trying to do while we're watching this election unfold. What's going on here? And here's just like the straight up electoral map.
What we're talking about is white women with a college degree. That's a really important part of the electorate. They live in those suburbs. In Georgia, Biden leads President Trump by 1 point. Okay, in 2016, President Trump, then candidate Trump, won that group by 29 points.
Whoa.
So right now, according to the exit polls, that's a
Didn't you take care of the top left?
Now, these exit things change over the course of the night, but as of right now, Joe Biden leads by 1 point.
F-17.
And Donald Trump won by 30.
He really courted those women, though, saying, women, please like me. I'm saving your neighborhoods. The question is saving your neighborhoods from what, number one? Number two, and I'm going to help your husbands, too. To see what
it's the S14 instead.
Trump you're talking about. Yes.
One of the things that Anthony was following in his polls from the minute President Trump was elected is some of those women in the suburbs were turned off by President Trump, starting almost within his presidency. And the president was always trying to get them back, get them to take a second look. We certainly saw it with his convention. And we'll watch tonight whether he was able to. That's one of the key groups to look at, not just to see who's winning, but by how much.
It's so interesting because we know that women make a lot of the household decisions on the economy.
Yes.
The data's clear. They decide what cars to buy.
Yes.
They decide where to send their kids to school. They even usually buy their spouse's socks in many cases. And so in this case, when women switch back and forth, it's because they're feeling it at home. Their kids
We got
may
some
not be
real
able to go to
boomer
school.
energy
People
on
are getting sacked, their own parents that they have to take care of. So it's one of those
on
key
this
demographics
coverage.
we're gonna be
And
watching
women
for.
are paying the higher price
Jeez.
too during
They
this
are.
pandemic.
Women have lost 4
Real
times as
boomer
many jobs
energy.
as men in the month of September. I mean, this has been a female-led recession, the first in our country's history. So to your point, it's not just about their husbands' jobs.
Yes.
Their jobs have been
too.
lost.
And the other big storyline.
Yeah,
that we
but by the
are
way, is the
covering
audio
tonight
fine? Is it
control
too loud or
of
too
the
quiet or
United
anything like
States
that?
Senate. So many
It's kind of a
competitive
weird
races
setup. This is
year.
not a
Let's
usual
bring in
setup.
CBS's chief congressional
Usually I'll just be
correspondent,
focusing
Nancy,
on the
go ahead. Hi there,
game,
Nancy,
but
good
today's
evening.
the election day, so we're kind of doing something a little different today. And the game I chose to focus on during the election was, of course, Go, this amazing, beautiful, ancient game.
At how we go
I can get
into
some
the
water.
night. This is an actual 3D rendering of the Senate floor. Republicans on the right in red. This is exactly where they sit. Democrats on the left in blue. And we go into the night with Republicans holding a slim majority, 53 to 47. But we've already got tonight some very interesting developments, Nora. Take a look. So on the right of your screen, you see how many more red seats there are than the blue. There are 23 Republican seats up for grabs tonight, just 12 Democrats. And interestingly, look at some of these Republican-held seats. South Carolina particularly. This is a ruby red state. Lindsey Graham won this state by 17 points 6 years
But I
ago.
also got
and
some
yet,
noodles.
Right now, it is a toss-up race. He is facing a tough challenge from 44-year-old Jamie
You're enjoying
Harrison,
Go a
who
lot?
raised
I'm really
more
glad to hear
money
that.
Than any other Senate candidate this cycle.
Yeah, I played some
President
Sume Go
Trump,
the other day. I really
race
like
is
setting
leaning
it
towards
up
him
on
in
my
South
board
Carolina.
and like
Lindsey
working
Graham,
through
our
it. I've been
polls
working
have
through
shown he's
Cho Chi
actually
Kun's
less popular in the state
encyclopedia.
Than he is. Another interesting development, Georgia. You've been talking about Georgia.
The first
A formerly
volume.
Republican state looks like a toss-up.
I did
tonight.
like the first
same
like
holds
like
true
4
in this Senate race, one of two
exercises.
that we're watching tonight in this state. David Perdue is facing a tough challenge from a man half his age, Jon Ossoff, who gave him such a run for his money in the last debate that Perdue ended up canceling the final debate and decided to campaign with President Trump instead.
And just one is enough, one and done.
And just to button that up, those 2 Georgia races are one reason we may not know control of the United States Senate tonight.
Exactly, because if nobody gets to 50% in either of those races, Georgia law says it goes to a runoff, and that runoff does
I
not
think you
take
need to
place
connect here.
until January 5th. So as
No.
one Republican operative put it to me, we might all be spending our holidays in Buckhead.
Which is a nice place.
You've been using OGS and Black to Play websites. Yeah. Check out Cho Chi
And
Kun.
Nancy, thank you. Love the technology. So interesting. Really makes the story very clear. We want to find out
And
what
in the
campaigns
book,
are thinking
in the
at
book,
this
it's
hour.
recommended
So let's
to
go to CBS's Weijia Zhang. She's at the White House where the president
like not
is
look at
watching the
like
returns with his
don't
close
look at the
advisors. Good evening,
solution.
Weijia. What
Like
are you
just
hearing?
work through it
Well, Nora, we just checked in
and
with
try
senior
out all the
campaign
different
advisors
variations
a short
yourself
time ago, and
so
they
that you
say
can
they are
practice
feeling
reading.
good about the
And I
turnout
was reading
today,
about
and
like
the
how like
president is in a good mood as he
I was
watches
reading about
returns
how
from the residents here. He only made one
you don't
stop
actually have
today,
to solve
and
a
that was to
problem
visit
for
his
it to be
campaign
useful.
headquarters in Virginia,
It's
just
reading
outside of
practice.
DC.
And so
He
as long
did
as you
not
do
want to hold
problems,
any events today
if
because
you
he
do
knows
enough
it is
work
so
on it
critical
and you
for
still
his
can't solve
supporters
it,
to turn out and actually
then
vote,
at least you still got the
before
work from
polls
it. So just
close.
move
In
on to the
fact,
next
that's
one
the
and then maybe
entire
go back to that one
strategy here.
later.
We've heard it over and over. The campaign doesn't view this as a jigsaw puzzle. They say this is more like a simple math problem. And when they look at the states that they're really targeting, they feel that they'll be able to crunch the numbers and get to that magic number. Of
Think
course,
attach.
it's going to be a long night to see if that actually happens. And it is interesting to see where they mentioned. They talked about Michigan. They talked about Pennsylvania. They talked about Wisconsin. Sometimes it's more telling what they don't talk about. They did not mention these really critical fights in Georgia, in Iowa,
Really helps
in
the thought
Minnesota.
process.
And of course, those states could help make or break their case. So they'll start crunching the numbers and we will bring you the very latest. But I can tell you it is going to be a very long night here. The president is hosting a party of about 400 people. But Nora, we don't know if he'll actually show up yet. It all depends on his mood.
All right, Weijia Zhang, thank you. Well, tonight, Joe Biden and his family are in Wilmington, Delaware, and that's where we find CBS's Nicole Killion, who covers the Biden campaign. And Nicole, we know that the Biden campaign had said, look, they felt confident because
trying
they
to
had
change the
banked
size
an early
of
vote
the
with all those absentee
chat.
and mail-in ballots. What are you hearing they're saying about whether the Republicans were able to turn out their vote today?
Oh, well, look, the Biden campaign feels like it is very well positioned going into tonight. And here is why. Their main goal is to protect the states that Democrats won back in 2016, win back the states Democrats lost, and try to expand the map. And so that's why their focus has been on trying to rebuild that blue wall in Michigan, Wisconsin,
G11
and
or
Pennsylvania,
C11
and expand the map to
B11.
places like Arizona potentially and Georgia. We do know earlier today the former vice president was in Pennsylvania at his childhood home in Scranton. He is back in Wilmington tonight, where he is watching the returns with his family. He is expected to address supporters here at this drive-in rally, which has kind of been a signature style of his event during the pandemic. But his campaign says his message tonight will be one of unity.
Yeah, I like to do this where I go through a game and I try to pretend like it's my turn to
Thank
move.
you. And I was talking
And then
to some of the
I
Biden
just try to
campaign,
play the game
and
as if
they're
it's like an
feeling
actual game
confident at this
happening.
hour. But I remember in 2016, so did Hillary Clinton's campaign.
Yeah.
And while Hillary Clinton did outperform in some places, Biden had that very strong, passionate group of supporters that also turned out on Election Day, and that's why
Like, it's
ultimately
really
he won the
fun.
election.
And by the way, that would be the normal unpredictability of elections. We are in a highly enthusiastic election where so many people have voted early. We are also in the middle of a pandemic, and emotions in the country are running high. So if there is a time to be cautious about the election outcome, this is a good election to be cautious.
Yeah, one of the things that encourages the
Yeah, I
Biden
don't know
team,
how
and
helpful
one
it would
thing
be.
we
I
will
mean, it
continue to see
seems
throughout
like
the
it
night
would, but
is
I mean,
this
I think at the
mix
end of the
of cutting
day,
into
if
the
you
president's
enjoy what you're
advantage
doing,
with
I don't think it
voters,
matters.
driving up,
As long as you're doing
black
something to
vote,
improve your
Hispanic voters
game,
across the country.
then you're
They
just going to
compete
improve
into
it. But in
president's
the end of the day,
margin among
like,
white voters, women with
you also
college
need to
degrees,
have
for example.
fun and enjoy
That is the mix
yourself.
that potentially
What I keep hearing, though, Nora, is they're confident, but they're not cocky. And I got an email that said cautious in capital letters, exclamation points. Cautiously optimistic, because as we all know, the night is still very young. And we keep hearing about a possible red wave that could come the day of with Trump voters who turned out to vote today.
There are still many people at the polls voting right now in many states across the country. The other big story, of course, is a nation on edge.
I'm gonna need a
CBS's
second
Errol
bowl of these
Barnett is at
noodles.
Black
I don't know
Lives
about you,
Matter
but these
Plaza
are freaking
in the
awesome
nation's
noodles.
capital. And Errol, what are you seeing?
It's interesting, Nora. The story of the nation's capital right now is one of two moods. Just take a look and listen around me. Right now, things are relatively peaceful. There's a celebratory atmosphere as a left-leaning progressive group called Shut Down DC is holding what they call de-escalation events, dance and music they plan to hold throughout the night as the
It's
returns
like
come in.
pad thai
But remember,
noodles
this was
with
a real
celery
flashpoint over the
and
summer
green
after
beans
the killing of
and
George
some
Floyd,
eggs.
where protesters here were met with tear gas when President Trump made an effort to have a photo up at St. John's Episcopal Church. Remember, a memory, an image in the minds of many voters from this summer. The hope is there's no repeat of violence.
I think
and
you need
things
to
remain
strengthen the
peaceful,
top right
but
corner
there
is
is
black.
anxiety here, Nora.
All right, Errol Barnett checking in there at Black Lives Matter Plaza. Thank you,
You're going to make me
Errol.
hungry?
You know, we can't go through this night without talking about what has happened this year and the great anxiety and stress that this country feels about the way forward.
You know how you know there's a lot of stress, guys, when you go through any city
Well, that does
USA of
strengthen the top
America and
right
you see
corner.
Plywood. When have you ever seen plywood? Just think about that for a second. After an election day, I mean, I'm coming into work today. You know what's boarded up? The Pottery Barn, Bed Bath & Beyond. The building that we're in right now, there are barricades. We had to go through a barricade to get in this building. The Empire State Building. It shouldn't be that way. The National Guard is on standby. You know, Election Day should be something that's very celebratory. You go, you cast your vote. I waited 2 hours. It was worth doing that. And you walk out feeling very proud and very privileged that you got to do that. And today, no matter who you talk to, black, white, young, old, people said, I feel stressed, I feel anxious.
I think you
and
have to play
Nora,
some
they said, I
endgame
feel
moves,
afraid.
maybe? No.
I feel afraid of however this turns out, you're going to have another half of the country that's going to be ticked off.
Right, and I do not have a psychology degree, but what they say when your
do.
feelings, yeah, you do, that's right.
I actually
and
do.
Gail always said that if she wasn't a journalist, she would be a psychologist. But as you know, when you're
Because I like
feeling,
listening to people's problems, but
yes,
continue.
But if you have anxiety and stress, what can you take control of? people thought their vote.
Yes.
And that's why
Yes.
so many people headed to the
Exactly
polls
right.
today. They felt it was the one thing they could control to make their voice heard. And that's what we're going to be talking about all tonight. We are just a
It's
few minutes
true.
away from the polls closing in 3 more states, including the battlegrounds of North Carolina and Ohio. So much to talk about. We'll check back in on Georgia, too. But right now, your CBS station will get you up to speed on your local races. We'll be right back with the latest results. You're watching CBS News 2020, America Decides.
Yeah, I'm thinking cutting off the kind of limit like where white's going to be playing and kind of keep the center. Okay.
Joe Biden has won the state of Oregon.
Well, that's
and
good.
President Trump has won Nebraska. Now, while some of these, and Florida is leaning, yep, there we go, and Nebraska. And while those are expected, what they do by calling them, or I should say in projecting them, they put more numbers on the board on the path to 270. Let's go now to Major Garrett.
So more exit poll data. We're going to talk to you about independence. I was over there, now I'm back over here. 2 jobs tonight. I'm loving them both. So, independent voters in 3 states, Upper Midwest, Michigan,
I couldn't believe
Minnesota,
Trump
and
said he
Wisconsin.
wouldn't.
Let's start
Yeah,
with
it's
Michigan.
bullshit.
Joe Biden, according to the exit poll data, again, gathered today through early in-person voting and those surveyed by phone who voted absentee. Biden 56, Trump 40. Let's go to Minnesota. Independent voters again. Biden 55, Trump 40.
Wasn't there something like with the 2000?
Biden 58, Trump 38. That's a little bit bigger margin in Wisconsin. Interesting thing about the independents in all 3 of these states.
The 2000 election where it's like
in all 3 of those states in
Al
2016,
Gore
and in
was
2
like
of the 3
winning the
states,
popular vote,
Minnesota and
but then
Michigan,
George W.
the
Bush
independents
demanded
said
a
both voted
recount or something like that.
containing coronavirus.
So is that part of the reason you think the Biden campaign?
Like he
still
wants
feels
to bring it
confident
up to
they
the
can win
Supreme
with these
Court
upper Midwest states
eventually.
that are
Like it's
doing well among
bullshit.
independents?
That was certainly one of the factors that they thought would be most helpful, or at least partially helpful, to them winning those states. Transitioning independence from Trump in 2016 to Biden.
Transitioning is my favorite
Why
word.
they're still serving peanuts.
On the plane.
Yes, on the plane.
All right, we're going to.
I think you need to play an endgame move on the left side.
Planes and puzzles.
There's a lot more news ahead, including projections.
Bush, I think it looked like there was election fraud. Yeah, they were talking about hanging chads and stuff like that. Or was that 2004? With between George W. Bush and John Kerry. I do know that like the election before that, where it was like Al Gore and George W. Was it Al Gore? At some point, I remember like Al Gore was or was that Al Gore and Clinton? No, not Clinton. Clinton had served 2 terms.
COVID has taken the lives of tens of thousands of Americans. Rural areas like this here on Navajo Nation are especially hit hard.
And I remember there's a movie with Jet Li. There was a movie with Jet Li. I forgot what it's called. It's called The One. I don't know if you saw that. But at the very beginning of the movie, they show like it's like an alternate reality kind of, like it's basically like parallel universe kind of thing, kind of like Rick and Morty. But like there's alternate realities, and this guy is like he's in another reality, and it's like a reality where Al Gore won, and like that was how they showed that it was an alternate reality. And then we got George W. Bush, and then 9/11 happened, and then everything changed. Everybody got like really freaked out about 9/11, and it's kind of sad because people just kind of reacted to things, and there was a lot of hate towards people just for being, you know, like just from looking like they're from the Middle East. A lot of racism in this country. People will get beat up. You know, the same thing happened when the coronavirus happened. People were like, oh, you look Chinese. And then, like, they just, like, beat up Chinese people just because, or anybody who looked Chinese, because they're like, oh, you gave us the virus. It's like the same bullshit, dude. Like, I'm tired of these people dictating our lives. I'm tired of people who just like, oh, well, this is the Chinese virus? That means China's bad. And yeah, like, China has its problems. Its government's kind of scary as fuck, but... Like, you know, just Chinese Americans? Like, people in our country who are Chinese can't even walk around safely because people are just so ignorant about how viruses work. Like, it's not this person's fault that we have the virus. Well, the thing about propaganda is it's only propaganda, really, if it's like... I mean, yeah, a lot of it is kind of like sensationalized, but at the same time, you don't even have to sensationalize half the stuff that's going on. Like, you could just say, like, verbatim what's going on, and it's still pretty bad.
In white. That means
it looks like Biden's gonna win. I'm really crossing my fingers. I prayed to God this morning. I prayed to God. I said, please don't let Trump win. I never pray to you, God. Please let Trump win. I mean, please let Trump not win. He knows what I mean.
Tight race there with 95% of the vote in. Keep going through all of those battleground states. Michigan, with less than half of the vote in at this hour. That is
God damn, I need more noodles. These are fucking
Election
good.
Day voting. We don't have the mail-in tally yet, which is why you see that disparity. Another state that we're watching at this hour, we'll put that up. And as a number of these states are just too close to call, we want to bring in Valerie Jarrett and Reince Priebus. Jarrett was senior advisor to former President Barack Obama, and Reince Priebus was President Trump's chief.
Yeah, this is like a major dinner.
And I know Reince,
Biden is just I really don't like when people use that argument though, when they're trying to say, oh, you know, why would you want to vote for Biden? One, it's like, well, it's like,
number one,
if your options are pissing your pants or shitting your pants, which one do you think is the better choice? And I know that sucks because you still have to piss your pants. But like what? Like you don't want to shit your pants, right? Like.
Are you Reince Priebus? Are you criticizing?
But so I really hate when people use that argument for like I'm not saying you are. I hate it when people use that argument to try to say why we shouldn't vote for Biden. It's like if you don't vote for Biden, you vote for Trump. And voting, and you know, if you vote for a third party, you're basically voting for Trump. You are. It's between Trump and Biden. There's no other option.
You got it. But what's complicated here is that in Wisconsin and Michigan, there is no rule as to how these ballots are being counted. There is no guidance. And what's happening is a rolling counting going on in these states. And so a lot of these things just don't make a lot of sense right now, but certainly...
It almost felt like they were talking to me. Like, they're like, thank you, like telling me to shut up.
Optimistic. I think emphasis cautious. If Arizona issue is true, then obviously on the Trump campaign, it comes down to must win in either Michigan or Pennsylvania. I can tell you, I think the Trump campaign feels really good, obviously, about Florida, North Carolina, Georgia, Ohio. I think those are, in any other presidential year, those states, maybe not North Carolina.
I don't even know how you're going to live on the bottom corner
Florida,
there.
Georgia, Ohio would be called for Trump, and I understand that everyone's trying to be careful now, but
the two parties make it impossible to have another choice. Yeah, exactly.
All right, let's just point out that in Michigan,
it's ridiculous.
Wisconsin and Michigan, that they are following the rules in terms of counting the ballots. The Secretary of State is involved. It just takes a little bit more time because there was such a large mail-in and absentee vote. Valerie Jarrett, I know you've been speaking also to the Biden campaign at this hour, and what are you hearing about how they view the race so late into the evening?
Well, I think they're still feeling very good about Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania. We're not prepared to say Georgia might not turn around. There's still a fair number of votes that haven't been counted there. Arizona's looking good. I was kind of enjoying a little dust up between Reince and Fox News disputing the outcome of Arizona, which benefits, obviously, Vice President Biden. But I think the point I want to make at this late hour is we have to be patient. We have to give the officials the time to count every ballot. Everybody would love this to be over with, of course, but we want to make sure that
I mean, why is it not a national holiday?
So let's not try to rush it. Let's take our time.
Shouldn't it be like make it as easy as possible for
Valerie,
everyone to
that's such a
vote?
good point. We keep emphasizing that just to say that just because it's taking a long time doesn't mean it's not working. Just because it's late doesn't mean it's not legitimate. So the more we emphasize that, I think the better.
And let me just point other thing out that military votes are accepted until November 6th, no matter where a voter is registered. It is a nationwide rule passed by Congress to make sure that our military voters are not disenfranchised. That has been approved by both parties in the past and still stands today so that their vote counts as well.
Reince, it's Ed O'Keefe. You're pointing out Arizona.
Yeah, imagine if you're in the military
Part of that is because you believe
and they didn't even count your vote. Like you're literally serving the
million
country,
ballots outstanding,
risking your life for the
ballots.
country.
Correct.
And if they didn't count your vote, that'd be bullshit.
Yeah, a big question. Where are the million ballots? Where are those ballots? And
so
you know,
he's
that's going to be
so
a big
just to
question
clarify,
tomorrow
3.4
morning.
million were requested. About 2.4 million and change have been returned. So Republicans are wondering, where are those other million?
And also, Ed, I mean, if you look at the fact that if you got 25%
They're in transit?
outstanding, you know,
Jeez.
part of this is
What do they think?
understanding how many votes are outstanding, where they're coming from, where those million ballots are. There, you know, I think you.
Oh
can
yeah,
at
no
least
politician
admit
like
that,
represents
I think
any
we all
of
can,
us.
That the Trump campaign has overperformed expectations.
The thing about that is that
because
doesn't
I
really
don't think
matter if
expectations were
because
accurate, but
it's
they've
like I said,
overperformed
it's like
because they're really good in the Republican National
either you
Committee, the
piss your
Trump campaign,
pants or you shit
they've
your
become
pants.
Very good.
You
at
could
this
choose
beta
to shit your
project
pants,
of
but why would you?
Identifying voters, knowing where the ballots are, and knowing what they need to get.
And so
they've
it's like
been-
in order
they've
to
been
make
hitting the
progress,
mark
we need
all
to
through
have
the
people who are at
country.
least going to try to make
Arizona's the
progress
one
towards
place now
policy
where we
change
have a
that'll actually
discrepancy.
benefit people. And I really do think like human
Reince
rights are
Priebus
the
and
only thing
Valerie
that we should be.
Jarrett, thank you so
that
much.
human
A lot
rights are the
still
only
ahead.
thing
We're
that
going
should
to take a
matter
short
right
break.
now.
Be sure to download the
We're at a
CBSN
point where
app
like we
to
can't
track
really
all your
focus on
local
anything
races on
else
your phone or
until
tablet.
human
CBS
rights are
News 2020.
guaranteed because
America decides, and we will be right back.
that's supposed to be the First Amendment of the Constitution. That, you know, like, and then the what was it in the Declaration of Independence, that all men are created equal. And obviously they, you know, they use the gendered language, but what they really mean is like we're all created equal. And the first on the Bill of Rights, the first law of the Constitution says that our freedom should not be infringed upon. Like, that's the number one rule, and how come we have so many problems with that? And yet people are talking about the gun rights. People are talking about whether or not Roe v. Wade should be overturned. And then the fact that, you know, like, it's a living document. Barrett claims to, and other, like, Republicans, like, justices claim to be traditionalists or whatever, where they want originalists, where they say, oh, we want to interpret the document as it was intended. But the people who wrote the documents owned slaves. Okay? Like we have to interpret it based on the reality we live in. And so the only reason I can see why these people want to be in control is because they want to go back to slavery. And it's like, it sounds like ridiculous. Like, oh, that's a false claim. And it's like, it's not that false of a, like, it's not that ridiculous of a claim. Like, the fact that Trump refuses to denounce like white supremacists until he's pushed so far that he like randomly like kind of begrudgingly denounces the Proud Boys. I think he did that in his town hall or whatever. But it's like why can't we even fulfill the First Amendment, which is that, you know, everybody in the country should have the freedom of speech, the freedom to gather, the freedom to protest, you know, all this other stuff. Yeah, but I mean that's the big thing is like that's the big shift that's going to have to happen in our country over the next like 10 years or longer. Like, we need to shift away from this, like, crony capitalism bullshit where it's like, oh, you know, well, this, you know, I'm going to get the election and I'm only going to cater to the people who, you know, make, like, the top 1% of the world, like, of the income, you know, the billionaires and shit like that. Yeah, I mean, maybe it's going to happen even sooner. So maybe that's the alternative, right? So you're afraid it'll take longer, but what if it happened like virtually overnight? Like, what if it's just like, hey, like, we need to change this shit. Let's have an unprecedented, like, national congress where we completely change everything.
Arizona as...
I mean, that's what happened when they ratified the Constitution. They had an emergency... they had an emergency congregation to create the Constitution. What if that happens? What if they like stop the entire government entirely and just say this shit's fucked up? We need to change this, and we're not leaving the Senate until this is fixed.
To tell you about in Senate races. So take a look. We're going to go first to Nebraska, where Ben Sasse, we project, will be...
Well, it doesn't matter who starts it. Like, as long as we start that process, you know, as long as we're going towards a more perfect union, it doesn't matter if it's Democrats or Republicans. But what does matter is that Republicans have aligned themselves with white supremacist groups, aligned themselves with, you know, like traditional fundamentalist Christians who think that marriage is only between a man and a woman, don't even recognize my gender, and are, you know, trying to take away women's rights to choose whether to abort or not in an unwanted pregnancy. It's like just complete like insanity.
In Massachusetts. I want to go back now to
I believe we're in the end game here.
We've been talking about how close it is, Nora, in the presidential race. Same holds true for the Senate race. Thom Tillis is now ahead. Thom Tillis is now ahead by about 1.5 points.
I was trying to. I was right. Yeah, that was the move. I was trying to. I was trying to make the move on the board, but I had the browser
good about Colorado,
focused.
which we have already projected for the Democrats, and then of course Arizona, which we've now moved to likely Democrat for a pickup for Mark Kelly, who's the former...
No, I'm full. I had 3 bowls of noodles.
What
Jeez.
is the actual vote spread between Thom
That was
Tillis
awesome.
and Cal Cunningham, with 5% of the votes still out. That's still, or 6%.
Yeah, in the end of the day, this whole election is going to take like a week. Like, everybody thinks that it's going to be decided tonight. It's like it's never been decided. They need to count all the absentee ballots. They need to count all the mail-in ballots.
All right. Thank you,
People who
Nancy.
think it's going to be decided tonight are delusional.
Will be leaving us for local election
But there's a lot of
returns. For
people
the
who are
rest of
tuning
you,
into
our
the
coverage
news and are
continues.
like,
You're
what's
watching
it going to
CBS News
be? And they're like
2020.
watching, and
America
it's like, dude,
decides.
well, you know, you better like put a toilet right next to where, like, you better watch this on the toilet. like if you're gonna watch this whole thing during the whole election, you're gonna be there for a whole week.
And let's bring in Anthony Salvanto and Major Garrett with an update on where the race stands with all of those battlegrounds yet to be called.
Straight in from...
Yeah, I don't know why people think there's going to be voter fraud. Like, people have been voting by mail for... Like, the president himself votes by mail. Like,
we're free from it.
Like,
Here we go.
like, fuck,
okay,
dude.
State.
All right, Pennsylvania.
All right, Pennsylvania.
I am told one of my best sources in Pennsylvania is someone pretty good at politics there, former Governor Tom Corbett. Okay. He said President Trump is overperforming what he did in 2016 in Western PA.
All right.
So what is that? What are we seeing there?
So let's take a look.
He said Butler County, Westmoreland.
Okay, I'm going to turn on the history for Butler County. Yep, 66 last time, 79 this time. Okay, got it. Let's do, well, Pittsburgh.
Propaganda to divide the country on party lines. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Right? Yep, 57, 71. Okay.
Anywhere around Pittsburgh.
Yeah, all around Pittsburgh. Look, this part of the state in the Westmoreland County, okay.
69.
Like, in the end of the day, we're all Americans. Like, why is there all this division? I feel like that's, if, you know, Biden needs to win, because regardless of what we feel about Biden, the people who are voting for him, myself included, want change and want this all to fucking change. The people who want Trump want it to stay the same or get worse, more towards fascism. And so if you're voting for Biden, you're not really voting for Biden, you're voting for America. America. If you're voting for Trump, you're voting for fascism.
Here's another suburb.
I don't care what people try to say. Oh, checks and balances, checks and balances. Where are your checks and balances when you completely pack the court with people who are under your thumb?
We look at past vote. We look at how it's been
Look at the reality, not like what you like. Your armchair politics that you like. You wake up and you're like, oh, let me read the news. Oh, Trump said something, but all these people are giving Trump shit, and he's just the president. We have checks and balances, checks and balances. Like what the fuck, dude?
Now, this is the other part of this, Major, that we should just tell everybody. This estimated.
That's the real problem, is that people voting for Trump aren't all white supremacists, aren't all like tradition. Like some people are just like honest, like everyday people, and they don't really dig deep enough because the media outlets don't really cover everything that you need to know.
As the CB has progressed, it becomes clearer and clearer to me, Anthony, that Pennsylvania is going to loom large in the ultimate outcome of this election. And Hillary Clinton, if I remember correctly, cleared out of Philadelphia about 450,000 votes. If Joe Biden is on that trend, he's going to need more votes elsewhere if the president is, in fact, continuing to overperform in Western PA.
All of these suburban areas are places.
I mean, they say that it's not fascism, but like, they've convinced their followers that it's not fascism. That's really how fascism works. They convince their followers that it's a good thing.
And it's a theme playing out in lots of these battleground
because
states.
He's playing to their religious beliefs. And the real fucked up part is that, like, where do we draw the line with freedom of speech? Because we already agree that you can't yell fire in a crowded movie theater or something like that.
There is also a story in here and every place else of rural
and so it's like if you are like a group of people who have a religion, quote unquote, because it's not necessarily a religion, it's like a specific subset of religious people. Like if you are a part of a religion that says you need to hate people and treat them like shit, like people who are in your country, people who really do exist. Like I'm a trans woman, people attack me, like at least on the internet, and I'm afraid to leave California because like people would attack me like physically just for being transgender, and like people who are gay are like, they're like, oh, marriage is between, sanctity of marriage. It's like, what the fuck? It was specifically trying to get away from the church. Like people actually think that like it was founded on Christianity. They were trying to get away from the church because that's what the British were doing. The British were under the thumb of the church. But like people are brought up to think that way. It's like brainwashing. Like, and the sad part is they think that those of us who are like Democrats or people who are voting for change and all that stuff, progressives and stuff, is they actually think that we're the ones who are brainwashed, and that's sad because they're the ones who from a young age they're forced to go to church. Forced to listen to some pastor talk about how like, oh, it's like only men and women can get married, and like they grow up with this, and they're like, oh well, but that's my pastor. I could trust him. It's like, what? It's so sad, but it's like hurting us. It's hurting us, especially those of us who are LGBTQ.
Welcome back to CBS News. You're looking at
and
Times
definitely
Square
hurting Black lives. Like that's no question.
We watch the returns come in here at our CBS News election headquarters as we approach almost midnight on the East Coast. What has become a long night, it's looking like it's going to be an even longer morning or perhaps week. With returns coming in right now, this race is coming down to several
looks like
key
we're in the
states
end game.
in the Rust Belt, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, where there are not enough votes at this hour to characterize those states. Among the battleground states at this hour, CBS News is characterizing Florida as leaning toward President Trump, along with the state of Ohio.
Hey, Frank, big time.
Arizona is leaning toward Joe Biden. Pennsylvania is still a toss-up, and so is North Carolina. The vote count is taking some time.
Well, that's kind of what I was saying, Frank. It's like, it's not that the Democrats themselves are progressive. It's that the people who are voting for the Democrats are. Like, I voted for Biden. People who are voting for Biden are people who are voting for change, and so that's the real. Like, it's not. It has nothing to do with Biden.
To vote for Joe Biden. The 50th.
So it's like, but what I'm saying is like, it's not about because, and he's going to want to cater to us, right? And so it's just like how Trump is catering to the alt-right and to the religious, like, you know, the religious minority. I'm not going to say that religion is bad because there's a lot of people who are Christian who aren't like that. It's fundamentalist Christian, like fundamentalists who are like, oh, you know, marriage is between a man and like those kind of people, which is very like it's actually kind of a minority, but it's a scary large amount of minority who have a lot of control and power.
You take the trailing candidate.
But if Biden is elected by people who want positive change in human rights, you know, and stuff like that, then he's going to cater to that because he's going to want to get reelected by the same people, and so that means that we're going to actually enact change by supporting him. A lot of people voting for Biden are voting for things to say exactly the same as they have been for decades, just not fascist. Well, that doesn't matter though, because the people who are voting for Biden are people like me who want change.
One of the things that Donald Trump did in Ohio, and I will watch to see if this
and maybe
happens in
this
the rest of the
election,
Midwest,
he's trying to cater to a lot of people who are on the fence, not really on the fence, but who are more like kind of boomer energy kind of stuff. But like, think about the next election, and then think about the president after him.
In 2016. So that's what you want to do.
Like,
is you want to grow.
Like maybe we're going to have a
better.
different
And
Democratic candidate that we can get.
Or,
You know, I'm not going to say that Republicans are just de facto bad. Maybe we get a good Republican. Like that's possible, right? Like I'm not going to just say all Republicans are bad, but like basically, if you're a Republican, you're catering to the alt-right. It's not the politicians themselves. The politicians are just going to do whatever they're going to do to get reelected. The people who vote for that party are the real enemy.
Like Cuyahoga County, Cleveland, didn't offset these gains that the president made, but they remain confident that they're going to prevail ultimately in Wisconsin.
You think the Democrats get away with just assuming that they get all the progressive votes because obviously, well, if there are progressives voting for Republican, then they're stupid as fuck because they don't understand that there's like been like so many human rights violations in the Trump administration.
The vice president, the former.
Excuse me. Thank you for
Biden's deputy.
Yes, former Vice President Biden's deputy campaign manager. The titles are so different, difficult. Yes. Still trying to project this air of confidence.
And Trump's still continuing to say that rhetoric. Like he's still trying to say like, oh, you know, like we're going to have more of the same. The American promises they can't keep. And it's like, well, what about all the promises? You know, it's like they made promises they kept, but like their promises are like, I'm going to kick you in the face. That's a promise.
Sent Vice President Biden at the end there.
Yeah, stupid. You know, if you're progressive and you're voting for Trump, you probably checked the wrong box, like on accident, because you were probably drunk.
If it continues this way, it doesn't seem like
Clinton was such a bad candidate. People thought Trump was a good choice. Well, oh, you mean okay? For some reason, I was thinking of Bill Clinton. I'm like, what? Oh, yeah. Well, the thing is, it's like she doesn't look so bad now, does she? She doesn't look so fucking bad now, does she?
Massive factor. It is just interesting.
Fuck, like I'm so fucking tired of people like, you know, if we had Clinton, I already knew Trump was a bad news.
We predicted Ohio that would likely go
Many people knew Trump was bad news. And it's like, it was the same issue where it's like, okay, well, we don't really like Hillary, but like, you know, Clinton, but it's like.
Well, he won it by 9-10 points 2016.
But like, you know, like at least she would have been like the same business as usual, but maybe we needed Trump to wake ourselves the fuck up.
To both of your points.
So it sucks that all these fucking bullshit things had to happen in order for people to wake the fuck up and go out and vote.
Or rebuilding the economy. It was 48-47.
Yeah, I mean, if he is worse, you know, he can't do anything. I mean, obviously, it's scary to say he can't do anything worse than Trump. And then the Trump supporters are going to be like, that's what you said about Trump. And it's like, okay, well, now you're, and then like, it'd be funny because then they're like, admitting the fact that Trump was a shit.
To win 270, they have two states that are on all three scenarios.
But like, dude, like, there's no fucking way Biden would fucking back out on what he promised. At least, even if he did 10% of what he promises, it's still better than 4 more years of Trump.
Michigan and Wisconsin. If Joe Biden can't put those in his column, it's over for him.
Probably. Now,
well, you know, that's what I'm trying to say, Frank. It's like there has to be some huge changes. And like I said, we might face an unprecedented historical,
And again, I will
shutting down
emphasize
of the
that
entire
this
government
number of
at some
expected
point,
vote is also
because
itself a
we're
moving
like, wait a
target.
minute, like we're
learning
not
about
even
how many
following
votes
like
are still
the
to come
First
in. But that's our
Amendment
estimate for
in a
the
lot of
moment. Now,
cases, and
there's
we
a
need to like
1.3 million ballots
reevaluate.
still
Obviously, that's a
outstanding.
that
Let's
may.
find
I
out
mean,
where
it's
they are.
ridiculous
For
to
one
hope for like
thing,
that, like
let's look at
something like that to happen,
Milwaukee.
but
Okay.
it could
A lot of them
happen.
are in Milwaukee. That's going
I
to be a
I really don't
Democratic
like it when
area.
people like
So the
feel
model
like
might estimate that Joe Biden
like
would
they
do
know
well
what's
there.
going to happen
We're
for the
still
next
waiting to
12
see
years.
votes.
It's like,
okay, let's look at
well,
the
you know, I
South
feel like
there.
this is the huge
Racine.
moment, Frank. It's
Turn on
like
the
the
estimate.
population
Okay,
never learns
64%
because they never
of the
had it
votes are
so
counted.
bad, and now
Still a
because
long
of
way
the
to go there.
internet
So
and
I could
because
go
of the
county by county, and what you're
egregious,
going to
like
see
ridiculous,
is that we are
like
still waiting on a great
like
deal of
administration that
votes to be
Trump had,
counted in
people are fucking
Wisconsin.
waking up to
Now,
this
I'll
shit.
back up one
It's
second.
been
Go to
going on
Michigan.
for like fucking
Okay.
ever. It's been
Michigan,
going on
we've
since
got
the founding of this
overall
country.
40%
We've had a shit
of the
show the
vote. So
entire
again, a
country.
long way to go.
Like the entire
Headed for
founding of the country has been a shit
5.6
show.
million
This is no
in our
different.
expected vote
The only thing
estimate
that's different
there.
is that it's
And
so
I'm gonna
worse
pull you back here to a
and
couple
it's
of key
so
counties in
ridiculous
Michigan.
with the
Zoom
Trump
in.
administration that
Okay.
people are like,
People
wait a
do
minute, we
talk
need to pay the
about
fucking
Macomb County.
we need to pay
At the
attention.
moment, heavily for Donald
There's
Trump.
no fucking
Now,
way
is
that
that
we're
all the
ever
vote?
going to
No,
go back
it's
to
not all the
business as
vote.
usual.
And
There's
for
no
almost a
fucking way.
500,000 votes,
After a
so only
life-threatening
about a half of that
pandemic,
has been
and
counted,
you know that
but
has been just
still trending towards
completely,
the president.
completely
Okay,
just
Oakland
like
County. Now, this is a
ignored
little more
by the
affluent
administration
suburban
and just
county.
like
This is the
false
kind of place
information,
Democrats have won
dangerously
to win
false
in Michigan.
information
So
spread to
far,
his
Joe
voters
Biden doing
to have
okay
like
there. But
mega
again,
spreader
same
events
story,
and shit like that when we
64%
already know
not
that
all
this
of
is a
it.
fucking
So we get
deadly
a better
virus.
estimate out of that as more and more comes in. All of it.
But
all
at the
of it
same
adds
time,
up
like
to
in
a
addition to
still
that,
tight
during the
race.
coronavirus, he tried to
Debbie
roll
Dingell
back
is the congresswoman
transgender
from
rights
the Detroit
protections.
area,
And I know,
famously
like
been quite
obviously, I'm a
pessimistic about
very
her party's
like my
chances in
demographic's
Michigan.
a very
Just a
small
few days
minority.
ago,
But
declared she
just
thinks
put
they'll
that
be
in
able to pull it off.
perspective
Texted
for
her
a
a little
second.
while ago.
We're
Still feel
faced
that
with
way?
a deadly
She writes back,
pandemic,
close, but
and
okay.
his administration
That's a
tries to
signal
push
Democrats
back
feel they'll be able to hold on in
transgender
Michigan.
rights.
Got it.
Like that's
All
so
right, let's take a
fucking
look now at
ridiculous.
some of the
We're such a
exit polls
small
with Major. Garrett,
minority.
Major?
We're already
So,
like
Nora and team, one of the
vulnerable.
things that's most
physically
fascinating
in
about the
danger,
so-called Trump effect on politics,
and like
trust
he
me, I
tries
saw
to
the
roll back,
2016
like his
campaign
administration
cover
tries
the
to roll
Trump White
back,
House,
you know, like
is
protections.
things that we thought we understood either
And that's
are no
just
longer
against
true
my
or not as true
demographic.
as they used to be. So I'm going to
Not
talk
to
you
mention
about
all the
approval
things with the
ratings,
black demographic.
national exit polls, and I'm going to get to some battleground
It's just
states.
like
I'll tell you what
super
I'm talking
evil.
about. All right, national approval, President
Hey,
Trump.
Kaitun, welcome to the stream.
47
We're just
approved,
watching the election
51
stuff, and I'm
disapproved.
going
This
through some
historically would be a
master
danger
games.
zone for an incumbent
I'm trying to
president
play
seeking
Guess the
re-election.
Move, and we're just talking
George W.
politics.
Bush
It's kind
narrowly
of a
won
weird
re-election in
stream.
2004
If
when
you're
his
new to my
approval rating
stream,
was
I am a
53%.
if you're new to
Barack
my
Obama
stream,
won
I am a
re-election,
trans woman.
54%.
I have been
So,
transitioning for
we
about
would
a year
assume
and
at
over a month.
47%,
On
Donald Trump would be
hormones,
in
I
real
am
jeopardy.
I'm getting ready to get my lower
let's go to
surgery
the
and
numbers
eventually
at
get my
battleground
facial
states, and let
surgery.
me show you that the national number
Anyway, like,
doesn't
but
speak
like,
to
pretty
where
much
it
I play. This
matters
is
the
like
most, or
this is a
potentially
weird
matters the
stream.
most. Florida,
Normally
approval
it's not
rating
like this.
54,
Normally I'm
disapproved
focusing on the
45.
game
Ohio,
100%.
54,
Normally
44,
I'm like,
North
you know,
Carolina, 50, 48,
we're not talking
North Carolina
politics
remains
all
close,
the time.
But this is part of
It's
the
not
dynamic.
expensive. I'm in
The
California,
national
and
mood
like
and
my
the battleground mood
I'm so
sometimes
poor
do not align.
that I
And
have
these
medical
three
insurance
states, the
that covers
president
it,
is net
and so it's
approval
like
positive, even though nationally
like I don't have to
he
worry
trails
about it.
in a way that we would
And I
ordinarily
actually I feel
assume
really
an
good
incumbent
today. Well,
must be
I
in
guess
danger.
today
That
I
was
feel
the
really
interesting
good
thing.
today
I think
because
those
today
numbers
I
are
went
so
to the
interesting
dermatologist to have an
about what
intake
people
and a
look for in a
screening
candidate.
for laser hair
You
removal,
say you
just for
want
the lower
integrity,
surgery
you
part,
say
because
you
we
want
didn't know if it's going to
character, you
cover
say you
facial
want
hair
truth.
removal.
I've even heard people
But
who
they're going to
support
cover
him
my
say,
entire
"Well, I wouldn't
body
want my
and
children to behave
my
this way,"
face
but-
hair removal completely,
what do you
100%.
think?
And
What
that
do
was the
people
only
want,
thing
Major?
that my
One of the
insurance
things I
wasn't
think
going to
is worth
cover.
noting
It was
about
the
Donald
only
Trump
thing.
in his approach to
The sad thing,
politics
though, is that I'm in
is this.
California. Think
He
about somebody in
assumes
like
that
Florida
strength
or Tennessee or
always
like, a more
beats
right-wing
empathy.
place, like,
And
like the
economy in
South,
this
like,
environment
like
still
a
beats
right
COVID.
state.
Those are the two
If you're a
underlying
transgender
theories of the
person and
case.
you're not in
Everything about the way
California
the
or
Trump
another
campaign
blue
has
state,
conducted itself in
you
the
don't even
virus,
have
talking
access to
about
this
it
kind of
and
health care.
talking
But
about the
this is
economy
life-saving
reinforces
health
both
care.
of those.
I would probably not be
Strength
alive
beats
today if I
empathy,
did not have this
economy
life-saving
beats
health
COVID.
care.
Even if it's just
And
by
these people
slight
who are voting
margins,
for Trump, they want
believe
to take that away.
All right, hold on just a second.
You'd move.
CBS
I mean,
News is
sometimes you
projecting that
can't
President
because
Trump
you're like a
has
minor.
won the state
Like you're
of
13 or something,
Ohio.
and you like want to start like
And some news coming
hormone
out of the
blockers,
Biden
and then
campaign.
people
There
are
is,
so like ill
the
informed
former vice president
that
and
they
his
just
wife
think
will
that
soon
like
be heading
hormone
to what's called
blockers
the
are like
Chase Center in
dangerous,
Wilmington, Delaware, where they're holding this drive-in rally with
like
supporters.
nobody is. And
Expected
the whole
to
thing is the
possibly
whole
speak later
situation
this
is
hour.
fucked
One
because if you
source
did
with
go to the
knowledge of all this
doctor,
tells our
your
Bo
doctor
Anderson,
would
who's
still
covered the Biden
probably
campaign
be
like nobody
extremely
else,
biased
that the former
towards the
vice
right
president's expected
and
to
would be
deliver a
trying to
statement
like
calling for
hurt you.
patience with the vote count,
So
but
it's
he's
really
also
fucked
expected to
up. This whole
confident
country needs to
standing
fucking
with the results
change.
in Arizona. That is the
Like,
state
why
they
are these
quite happy
people who
about.
have these like extremely dangerous beliefs about people and are trying to like and are actually trying to use it? Hey, thanks for the 22 bits, Scooplet. It's like these people who have like these dangerous like beliefs about people are like allowed to just like say that, but you can't say fire in a crowded room because it endangers other people's lives. And it's just like Charles Manson. He didn't actually pull the trigger or kill the guy with a knife or whatever, but like he told the guy to. He didn't commit the murder, but he basically did. So it's like so it's like if you have an entire population that congregates together and says that a specific group of people needs to be like are like sinners and they're going to go to hell and we need to make their life a living hell. And and we're gonna do everything we possibly can to make like take away their rights and take away their protections. Isn't that a hate group? And shouldn't that be punished by the law and not allowed to thrive in the country? And yet it thrives in our country. I hadn't been paying attention at all to the election. Now I'm super sad. I'm so sorry, Gooplet. We're having a weird stream tonight. It's still too soon to tell. It's still soon to tell. I've just been I'm working on my go and we're watching election coverage. Yeah, like we're getting into the end game here, and so I think I don't think you can get away with anything too much over here. I mean, maybe just try to play here, huh? Oop. Pog, is that one of your games? No, it's like Shusaku. It's definitely not one of my games. I don't know. It's just like this the same shit. I feel like so drained, and I feel so tired. Like obviously I'm doing great in California, but then think about like the thousands of people who are trans or baby trans in this country who have absolutely no support, and who like if they come out to their family, like their lives are in danger, like their actual lives are in danger. It's so fucking sad. And you can't always get away from that situation, and it makes me feel so much pain. Like I want to do something about it, but I can't. I mean, the best I can do is I can do the best I can to move forward and live my life, and hopefully I can make positive change in society just by existing.
Look at the boards in Georgia, the state of the race there,
and then some.
It is a ruby red state that Democrats had hoped to flip in their favor. You'll notice there's barely 80% of the vote in, which is why we've yet to call this date.
Yeah, so this is a really odd stream. This is a special election day
Let's check in
stream.
with CBS's Mark Strassman, who is in Atlanta tonight. And I understand, Mark, there's some news about the vote count.
Yeah, the vote counting is
I think
not
Black
going
should
to
play
end
here.
tonight. In fact, Georgia looks like
Oh,
one of those
and you
states
do.
that's not going to have full results
I
until
like it
tomorrow
when
and
I
here's
guess
why.
the same moves
This
as
is
these
Fulton
like
County, which includes a chunk of
ancient
Atlanta. It's the most
players or like
populous
even modern
county in
players.
Georgia, about 800,000
Like I really like it when I
registered
play the same
voters,
way
about
as like the
11% of
Masters.
the overall,
Even if it's only like one move.
percentage of voters here in Georgia. Here's what's happened. The Fulton County Board of
Maybe try
Elections
to
has sent
split
home
those
all of
two
its
groups here with a move
tabulators
like
for the
this.
night. They said that all those employees have been working hard and very laboriously
2 for 2.
going through all the ballots since 6 o'clock this morning. They have sent them home. It's not going to happen tonight. In fact, they have only tabulated 49% of the vote here in Fulton County. And again, Fulton County is the most consequential county of all in the state of Georgia in terms of raw numbers. So this is
Hey,
just not going to
Lo-Fi,
happen
thanks for
here
the
in Georgia.
follow.
We're not going to have a definitive answer as to who won this state, even though as you
Okay,
mentioned,
buddy.
the polls have been closed since 7 o'clock. If
Good
you recall
luck.
earlier, there was a separate issue, which is that at State Farm Arena, which is where Fulton County's absentee ballots were stored, there was a water leak. They had to suspend tabulation for a while until they got that under control. We're not sure if those uncounted absentee ballots are part of the overall 51% of Fulton County's ballots that have not been counted. But in any event, it's not going to happen. Earlier, Georgia's Secretary of State had predicted that they would get it done by midnight. Fulton County officials said that was not true. That would not happen until tomorrow. Turns out the local officials were right. The Secretary of State was wrong.
A vote for Trump is a vote for
This is just not
fascism.
going to happen, and this is going to add more frustration, of course, to people.
Like there's no amount of logic to try to say otherwise.
We're not going to find out
There's just too many
Right, I understand now the
blatant,
largest county in
obvious
Georgia saying they are
situations
suspending the
that are
vote
just
count
like
at
obvious
Fifth Hour
that
in
like
Fulton
Trump
County.
wants
Do you know
fascism.
about how many votes that may be? Is it 100,000? Is
Don't
it
know.
500,000?
I don't know, Nora. Here's the thing. Again, 800,000 registered voters. What percentage of Fulton County turned out in the early voting and in today's turnout? Don't know. It is consequential, of course. This
Oh, I
is
thought
a
it said
very heavily
lo-fi,
Democratic county.
like.
And so for the Biden
It's
campaign
low
in
Florida. Okay, I
particular,
see what you're
this
saying.
has
I thought it
real
was lo-fi,
importance and
like lo-fi
resonance.
hip hop.
And, we did not hear from the County Board of Elections how many total votes, the raw number of
Yeah, I don't know.
uncounted votes,
That person
that's not
screamed
clear.
like really toxic
All right,
energy.
Mark Strassman there in Georgia with that update on why we will not
I don't
have
like
the full
toxic
vote
energy in
count
my chat.
Georgia. I think it's worth also pausing and saying, you know, presidential historians point out that we did not know the presidential winner for certain before midnight on election nights in 1960.
Like even if a Biden supporter came in and started harassing
1976,
people too,
2000,
like that's
2004 and 2016. So no one should
Yeah,
pretend that
lo-fi did
anything
not
is
seem like
different
they would
about
have a
this
good
year. And of course,
conversation.
this year is a pandemic.
Definitely
With a
not.
record turnout. In
It just
terms
seems like the
of so
same
many more
exact
votes
shit
to count, and
that
that's why we're
everybody
witnessing
says.
What we are.
Okay, I think you need
tonight
to
in
force
terms
this.
Of not being able
No?
to characterize the race or project a winner. Let's check in with, yes, we want to see.
Just a couple of things on Fulton County. Hillary Clinton won that county by 40 points. That's how democratic it is.
I don't know if
And
you want to play here, but I'm guessing
438,000,
here.
Voters
You'd probably
in
want to
Fulton
play
County
here
in
instead.
2016.
Oof.
The
Yeah,
total
let's play
early
there.
vote in Fulton County
Oh,
is
and that's the move.
447,000. So that was just early vote in Fulton
Yeah,
County. was
usually I just
larger
ignore people who
than
have
the
toxic
vote
energy.
in
They're kinda like
2016,
bots.
So that doesn't even count what happened today. So there are a lot of votes in Fulton.
So you're talking about hundreds of
I'm
thousands
having really
of
fun,
votes.
really, a lot of fun tonight. Like I said, I'm having, I feel fucking fantastic. Like, well, we're still like a week off from seeing the clear results of the election.
You know, listen, don't be alarmed.
But also,
because we
like, I
haven't
was
had the
feeling like
vote
super stressed out
60,
this
52,
morning.
whatever,
And then I went
the-
to
the
my
years were
dermatology
that you
appointment,
named.
and they're
The
like,
difference is
we're
the
going to
president has
completely
seeded the
cover
narrative
every,
that
like,
if we
full
don't
body
have the
hair
results
removal
tonight,
and full face
he's gonna
removal.
either
Like,
take
not
legal
going to
action
remove
or
my
that
full
the
face.
vote is rigged
No, like,
if
they're
it
doing a
doesn't
good
go his
facial
way.
hair
So it will
removal,
be
you know,
interesting
for
to
my
see
face
how
and
he will
neck and
accept
my
this
whole
latest
body.
turn of events.
I don't
And
have
Gail,
too much
his
body hair,
own
so, but I mean, that's a
Homeland
good
Security
plus. Like, I don't want chest
Department,
hair.
which has been
I don't have
briefing the
too much
press,
though,
said
but.
that they don't expect
But
to
it's
get
just like it's so
results
fucking.
tonight,
I was like,
final
holy
word.
shit! I'm just gonna
As
get
to
full hair.
Georgia,
I'm
they
just
said
gonna.
there is
It's
no
probably gonna,
indication that
you know,
the
like it's
problems
probably
they're
gonna take a
having in
while,
number of
but
different
like,
counties
I'm
were the
just gonna
result
get it
of
all
malicious
fucking out of the
activity.
way.
In
Like
fact,
we were there, we were
Gwinnett
going there
County,
like just to
they
get
had
for
stopped
like lower surgery prep.
scanning
I got to
ballots,
head out, but I
in
hope the rest of your
Delayed
stream goes
County.
really
In
well.
two
Yeah,
other
I mean,
counties,
I'm
they had
kind
to
of like
switch to
getting
paper
tired.
ballots because
I
of
don't know how
issues
much
there.
longer I'm gonna go. I'm
But
gonna
they're
at least go
saying
through the
that
rest
this
of
is
this
not the
game.
result of malicious
I've been streaming for
activity. This is the
3 hours.
president's Homeland
3
Security
hours.
Department. So it is interesting to have that on the record, given what you were just pointing out.
It's a supply and demand issue, basically.
Didn't Georgia have a problem with the vote count
Georgia.
recently?
They did during the
Yeah.
primary.
Georgia.
Brand new voting systems. This is
Okay.
the first time they're using them in this election, which kind of stunned other election officials that they would go out.
But yeah,
in
I'm
this
probably gonna
election
end the
with
stream
new,
after I finish
technology.
playing through
But
this
yes, they
master
did
game.
have significant issues before that they were trying to correct.
But I'm feeling fucking fantastic because I'm like, that was the one thing that we were worried about, that I was worried, stressed out about. You know, because my insurance pays for the hormones, my insurance pays for the lower surgery, my insurance pays for the facial surgery.
We're going to take
It
a
even
short
pays for a breast augmentation, but I don't think I'm going to go for that. I'm already feeling good on that area. It's only been a year, and I already feel good about progress. But like, you know, and then I would have to wait a year anyway before we would talk about that.
COVID
so,
has taken the lives of tens of thousands of Americans.
But it's like, it's like I had no idea. See, I thought I would have to like kind of like freak out about how to get facial hair removal, but it's like, no, like, you know, how much of this do you want? I'm like, whoa, like I thought only insurance covers lower surgery prep, and I'm like, and she's like, no, we could do the whole thing, like your whole body, and I'm like, holy shit, yes. I don't grow much leg hair and I don't grow much arm hair, but like, There is like a small patch of chest hair and abdomen hair that I really want gone. And but you know, may as well do the rest of it while we're at it. You know, like not have to deal with leg hair. You dropped over $1,000 in facial hair removal. Yeah, they're doing the whole fucking deal. Well, that's also how poor I am. Like, I don't have any income. I wish I could help you go Gooplet, but you know, I'm in California and I'm poor as fuck, and I'm like permanently disabled basically. Like, we're applying for SSI. I'm talking to the SSI people tomorrow with my therapist. And it's going to be a pain in the ass trying to get on SSI, but I can't work a job. I can barely even function. I can barely even show up to stream. Like, streaming is like the only thing I've been able to like really do. And I'm getting better at it, but the thing is, it's not really a job unless you're like already like so like developed that it's like definitely a job. But like, this is not like a viable source of income at this moment, and probably never will be, but you never know. I mean, it'd be fucking awesome if I just like explode. Hey, thanks for the 22 bits. Oh, thank you, Gooplet. You're one of my strongest. Like, I felt so. I felt a lot of solidarity when I went into your stream, and I was super happy. I was like, I made a friend. I made a friend. And I'm gonna turn off the election stuff. It's like I'm tired of that shit. Let's just do this. This is way more important to me than the election. Seriously, like, honestly, this game right here is more important to me than the election. It's good to have support from community. Yeah, okay, so I do have to tell a little bit of gossip. There was another trans streamer that I was sort of friends with, and I don't hate her, but like, she was just kind of rubbing me the wrong way, like not in a good way. No, just okay. Like she was just like being like really like kind of negative in my chat. I haven't seen her stream since, so maybe it's just in general she was. A lot of people kind of had like issues with her. I don't want to start too much drama, but it was with Trans Girl Chess. And you know, she like came into my channel and like kind of like berated me for my chess playing, and she would like say, like, I would say like, hey, this is my channel, can we just like calm down a little bit, like I'm just here to have fun and stream and try to improve. But you're like, you know, I was having, when I first started streaming, I had a lot of issues like mental health wise, but also like streaming is hard, and like trying to play while talking and like dealing with chat, like it was really stressful, and I was like, you're stressing me out, like I need to take a break, like I need you to like kind of calm down for a bit. And she would like argue with me and stuff like that. But I was kind of sad when she I had to ban her from my chat, and then later on I unbanned her, and she came in and said, what the fuck, why am I unbanned? And I was like, oh, I thought like, you know, we could try again to be friends. And she's like, fuck this. She's like, I wish you just kept me, like, just ban me again. Oh, like, what the fuck? But you know, it's really sad. I really don't like drama between streamers, but like I was so happy and excited to meet another trans streamer. But like, just because somebody is also trans doesn't mean they're automatically like an awesome person, you know? Like I mean, look at Blair White. Used to play chess tournaments, you wanted something different. Well, you know, I love Go and I love chess. I'm definitely not backing down from chess. I still will be streaming chess. Hey, Baduk Bum. Yeah, we're kind of winding down for the night. I'm actually feeling a lot better now that I turned off the election stuff. Jeez. That was... But even then, like I said, like I've been feeling like on top of sunshine today, like because I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get my facial hair removed, you know, without having to pay for it. Like it's all covered by my insurance. I thought I was only gonna get lower surgery prep, and like and now and then also the fact that we're going one step closer to getting lower surgery. You participate in like 3 raids? Yeah, lurking is like 80% of Twitch. Like there's a lot more people who lurk than who chat. And that's why, you know, it's like when you think about like people who are negative or toxic, I mean, you could say the inverse about like people who are positive, but I think positive people have a lot more weight than toxic people, because one positive comment can completely change your day. But like 1,000 negative comments are like fucked up, but like you can kind of like deal with them. But like one negative comment is not really going to affect you so much. I think it's more like en masse. But like one positive comment is can like completely like change your day, like make you smile. And so I feel like even though it's about like 10%, it's like 10, 10, 80. Like there's 10% people are positive, like support, 10% are negative and toxic, and then 80% are just people who are just lurking. Like people who are just watching in the background, they're like playing a chess game or a Go game in the background. Objection! One positive comment can completely destroy my composure! Okay, yeah, because then you're trying to live up to it, right? Like you're trying to live up to the fact that somebody's like, "Oh, you look really cute today," and you're like, "What if I don't look cute?" Or like, "Hey, like you played a really good chess game, or you played a really good Go game. Oh, hey, look, N2, that's a really good move," and you're like, "Oh God." Obviously, this is a Shusaku game. I'm not going to take credit for and Shusaku wasn't playing black, but like I am not going to take credit for that. I cannot. It's just not going to happen. I wonder if I still remember how to be good at chess. Yeah, it's like kind of like riding a bike. Like and the thing is if you work on Go or you work on chess, you're actually like improving the parts of your brain that works on both of them. I think we're going to try to do a co-battle here, but I think black can fill. So if you play here on M4. No? You're just going to capture. This is very much endgame. I could already tell. Like at this point, I think we're looking for co-threads. Maybe play here. Nope. I wonder if there's still a lot of overlap. Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of overlap. And the thing is your brain doesn't know the difference. I mean, it has different pathways depending on which game you're playing. Like if you're playing Go, you use a different set of muscles in your brain, like so to speak, because they're not actually muscles. They're like neural pathways. Your brain uses a specific pattern that's similar to, it's like the same part of your brain that works on chess. It's the same exact part, but there's going to be different like specific pathways. But like you're still going to work the majority of those pathways. And then when you work on chess, you're working the similar pathways, but it's the chess pathways as well. And you're like working on one is also work on the other. And a lot of people say like, oh, if I work on Go, I'm going to like my chess is going to set like, a lot of chess players get so like kind of like blind and they kind of halt their progress because they're kind of blinded. They have like, they have tunnel vision. They don't really like, they need to play a game like Go or Shogi or something for like a few months or something and then come back and be like refreshed. And like they really have it, studying any one of these logic games or any one of these kind of games is going to improve your overall like muscle memory. Yeah, you also get mental stamina, and that's something just doing an activity for a long amount of time just strengthens your stamina. Everything in life has overlap, and being well-rounded actually makes you overall better at everything. Yeah, I mean, obviously, if you want to be like a 9-dan pro, then you're probably going to have to put in a significant amount of time and energy to go. Like, if you can't just be like, oh, I'm a 1-dan pro. How about I just go play chess, like, for like a year? Like, maybe if you're in a slump, like if you're in a slump in chess or in Go, and you need to take time off and play a different game. If that's like in the grand scheme of things, that could probably be better for your game than just forcing yourself to like trudge through like a whole bunch of study that you don't really feel like you're doing. Instead, take a break and do something new and exciting, and then come back to it and be all refreshed. Be like, good old Go. I really miss it. I actually am trying to be a 9-dan pro. Wow. Well, aren't we all? I mean, in the end, obviously, there's realistic expectations. Probably not, but I mean, we should in our minds, like we should be ready to be fighting for the top. And you know, who knows? Maybe you're like one of those like crazy geniuses that manages to become a 9-dan pro. It's possible. I don't know if it's probable, but it's possible. Awesome. Are you? Oh yeah, you came into my chat before, weren't you in Korea? You're like an insei or whatever. How many 9-dan pros are there? Yeah, it's realistic for if you're like young, but like you know, people my age. I'm like 32. Like maybe I could become a pro AGA player. Maybe, probably not. Oh, maybe it was somebody else. There was an actual not insei because that's Japan. Whatever they call it in Korea. There was like a potentially pro, like on the road to pro Go player. I mean, they said they were. Obviously I'm not going to fact check, you know. It's like this isn't the election. Yeah, we're at a point where it's like I'm okay, maybe you can just capture here. No? Now I probably want to connect. If I'm playing black, I probably want to connect here. Oh, trying to somehow get some points here. I think this would be good. Or not. Fill this in. You feel like a baby at 23? I'm 32 and people still say I'm like insanely young. It's like oh, you have like you're not even like a third through your life. Like that's why I have a lot of positive, like that's why I have a lot of I have a lot of hope about the next like decade for my life. Like I started this transition like a year ago, like a little bit over a year ago. And it's been like crazy, like, but we've been going like a train, baby. And like as soon as I finished like all the major parts of my, like the surgeries, and like it's been a while on hormones and I can just move on with my life, I actually get to live. And it's like I'm 32 now, and I'm not fully transitioned. You know, like when we say fully transitioned, obviously you never fully transition, but like what I'm saying is like unless you're dead, but like then you're fully transitioned to death. But like what I mean is like it takes like 2 to 3 or 4 years, like most likely like 2 to 3 years to like for like the majority of like hormone changes to happen, feminizing changes. Well, the thing is, people say you're fully transitioned. Well, if you're dead, you're fully transitioned because you transition for the rest of your life. Everybody is, like men, women, cisgender men, trans women, trans men. Everybody's transitioning with their, because your body chemistry is constantly changing every single moment. Science will reach full transition point in not too long. Oh God. Yeah, at this point, I'm really not sure how to play here as either side. I'm just like okay, you need to, yeah. I feel like we could probably end this here. Let's just. Oh, that was actually the last move. That was actually the last move. I was like, oh, well, I'm not really sure where to play as white. I'm just gonna pass. Oh, God. Jeez. White wins by 13.5 points? Yeah, this is starting to look like endgame. Oh, it's the end of the game. Yeah, score estimator says white wins by 13.5 points. I'm just trying to think where white can hedge in some points. There must be. Like, Maybe you can kill some stones here? I'm not sure. Well, if you take this stone, maybe you could secure this corner. This side, I mean. So maybe you just play here first. If you play R8, you might be able to do something there. I don't know. It's been quite a stream. It's been quite a day. Oh God, where am I? Ah! Okay, I'm back. Yeah, it's been quite a stream. We've been streaming for 3 hours. I really feel like I had a nice, beautiful day. You know, obviously a lot of it is like I don't want to just be completely stressed out during these elections because it's gonna be like another week or longer while all this is decided. And there's people who are like on the edge of their seats. You can't be on the edge of your seat all the time. Like, you have to calm down. I feel like today was a win for me. Like, knowing that I'm gonna have 100% of my transition completely covered by my insurance. Like, that's beautiful. Like I'm so happy that like I don't have to worry about that anymore. We can just, like, obviously it's still like really stressful. It's really hard for me to like make my appointments and like, but I'm trying really hard. And yeah, like I do it, like I get it done, but there's like the matter of like I'm basically like at the edge of my seat every single time that something happens, like a phone call happens or like anything like that. I'm like, oh God, did I say the right things? Like, you know, I was like scared to death. Like, I need my therapist present, but she's helping me with my SSI. I'm like, can you call back tomorrow when she's present? Because I really can't do this on my own about my employment history and stuff like that. She has all that. And I really do not want to be alone on this, because like if I'm on my own trying to get like, you know, like critical life-saving things happening, like I need a team, you know, I need support, you know, I need people who are like my therapist and stuff like that. But you know, everything's actually going great. I was reminded today, like I look back at everything that's been going down for my like personally for myself this past year. I've been so stressed out, and it's not because of like if I just take the win, like the reason I've been so upset is not because of like, you know, obviously a lot of it is, you know, I feel a lot of empathy for the rest of the country and for the rest of the world of people who are trans. And I feel that pain, but at the same time, like I need to take care of myself, okay? And like, and I've been doing great. Like I'm going to therapy every week. I'm very communicative with my doctors. We have like, you know, my hormones are, you know, going along, and like I actually have a bust. Jeez, I actually have a bust. That's crazy, but and it just reminded me, like, my life personally is going great. The only thing that gives me a lot of tension and stress is because obviously I have empathy for the rest of the planet and for the rest of the country. And like, I want to do more. But in order to do more for other people, I have to actually take care of myself first. If we're in a plane crash, I have to be able to take the oxygen mask and put it on a child before I put it on myself. I can't, you know, you want to take care of your child first, but it's counterintuitive, but you have to take care of yourself first, because if you die, there's nobody to take care of that child, and the child's going to die. Tons of groups, but it does seem like trans people do have it the worst. Yeah, it's tough, dude, but we're going to fight for this. This is what this election is about. This is what this election is about. It's for people like me, for people who are black, or, you know, other people of color, or gay, lesbian, anybody who's like been like completely attacked. It's not about the president. It's about the idea behind fighting Trump. Like, obviously it's not about Biden specifically. Biden represents an idea. And we need him, okay? Like, I wish people would stop saying like, oh, you know, but Biden's not that great. It's like, dude, fuck. Let's deal with that when we get to their like next election. Like, let's deal with that next election, okay? Like seriously, I'm too cute for my own good, okay? Like, look, I mean, like let's get real here. That's the real deal. Is I'm just too cute for my own good. Okay, let's keep this party rolling, shall we? Let's keep playing Go tonight. I hope everybody has a beautiful evening, a beautiful day, and we're gonna push for 3K. Okay, let's go.